University on this stage. My name is Swaran Ravindra. I am honored to be joining my team here, Ashutosh and Elenoa, who have been working very closely with me in some projects that we have been doing for the Fiji National University in conjunction with some donor agencies and more importantly, the Pacific communities. Okay, so our topic for today is transforming the Pacific through digital skills and virtual reality in Tibet. So why this matters to us, I think we have been talking about it for the entire week. The Pacific faces unique challenges, which we particularly call Pacific-centric challenges, right? Pacific-centric challenges, and we also need to come up with Pacific-centric solutions for our challenges. So our remoteness, our infrastructure gaps, limited access to digital tools, and of course, we need to address the digital divide. It requires both foundational skills and innovative learning methods. I think we've heard about this quite extensively just before lunch, so I'm not going to go over it too much. Okay. I'll give you a moment to recognize some faces here. And Ashutosh and Sarai have brought some cover from Fiji as reward for anyone who's going to give right answers. Even if you can identify, well, I know you can identify at least 5, but I'm going to ask you for 3. Anyone here can identify anyone in this particular? Save Patu? I can Save. Can you identify someone here? Andrew? Hey, that's too easy, no cover for you. Anyone else? Can anyone identify anybody else from these pictures here? Oh, no, I don't think I'm there. You can see Anju? Great. One more. Who? Eileen? Yes. That's all? Tupe? Who else? Malay? Which Malay? I'm going to give you Pacific jokes, eh? So in Tonga, if you stand in Nuku'alofa, and you say, Malay, how many people are going to come? Who? Selu, right. So yeah, we do have a few Malays and all of them are contributing quite equally. All right. So I just wanted to show you this slide. Of course, this is, I think 3 years ago. When I was invited to speak at ITU's conference, the PETA conference in Suva at Holiday Inn, and that conference was all about, coming up with a steering committee who would be discussing how we will go about implementation of smart islands in the Pacific. So that was the beginning of the conversation. And I vividly remember somebody had presented and said that in Fiji, we have 95% internet penetration rate. And I was the very next speaker who pretty much said, really? Then who are these 5% who are unconnected? Where are they? And this 95% we're talking about, is it meaningful access? There's a huge difference between being connected and having meaningful access, right? Particularly when you see the disparities in communities. So this conversation for us started here in 2022. And another participant asked me, Swaran, is this just going to be another talk fest? Or is it going to lead to some action? So ladies and gentlemen, my beautiful Pacific brothers and sisters, today I'm here to tell you that we are living testimony that that talk fest has now transformed into action. Okay, so that day we spoke about gender mainstreaming issues in ICTs in the Pacific. And now I'd like to highlight who were these wonderful people who brought to the Pacific's attention that these are the disparities we are facing, okay? So there was one project that was conducted. Some of you may probably know about it already, the Pacific Digital Gender Scorecard. Have you heard about it before? No? Come on, guys, we need to know our Pacific heroes, eh? Okay, so if there's anyone in the room here today who has taken part in this initiative, can you please raise your hand? Tonga? Samoa? PNG, if there's anybody who has taken part in this project, can you please raise your hand so we can see you, our youths can see you? Thank you. And of course, Sarai was part of this project as well. Okay, so when this study happened, of course, some time ago, there were 5 thematic tracks, right? Internet access translating into women's empowerment, affordability, digital skills and education, relevant content and services for women, and online safety. So these were the 5 important matrices or the perimeters through which we were able to assess what our digital divide in terms of gender was and how good or bad was it. So given the low rate of internet penetration, PNG scored the lowest of the 3 countries across all 5 themes with an overall score of 47%. Tonga and Samoa performed better with overall scores of 71 and 71.6 respectively. So that was the reality that we were going to deal with. Okay, so I'm just going to show you very quickly what the scores were. So this project covered 3 Pacific islands, and later on we had some more conversation about maybe sort of learning from the best practices, avoiding the pitfalls, and then of course trying to cascade down the same type of approach for the rest of the Pacific. But we had lots of lessons learned from here. So this conversation, the reason I brought in this project once again today was because this was done by my Pacific sisters. So can we please have a round of applause for my Pacific sisters? So Sarai, Selu, and of course Crystal, and so many of us who have met and become friends because of projects like this. So youths, I encourage you, fellows, I encourage you to have this type of meaningful conversations and create a lifetime meaningful relationships with our Pacific brothers and sisters. Okay, so long story short, 2022, the data that was collected, it helped us bid for some projects. And fast forward to 2024, we were asked by ITU to come back into this conversation and join them in ITU's Smart Islands project. So you may be aware that the Smart Islands project, of course, UNOPS was a major stakeholder in it as well. So the Smart Islands project was as such that for every Pacific island, there was one island that was declared as the Smart Island for ITU. For Fiji, it was Rotuma. So we started off with the first phase. This was last year. And that is just one of the images from the beautiful islands of Rotuma. And now I'd like to call upon my colleague, Ashutosh, to take us through the journey. We have 3 phases in total for the Smart Islands project. Vinaka.
Okay, right. Thank you, Swaran. So before I start, I would like to acknowledge our partners first, ITU and the Fijian government, for helping us and supporting us through this initiative. So our journey had started in Rotuma. That was the phase 1 of this project, where Swaran and I, we went to Rotuma, and in the 7 districts in Rotuma, we were given the task to provide digital literacy training. So the training was about 1 hour to about 3 hours. Okay, 3 hours including the cover sessions after. So this was mostly with the awareness of the community of how they can use the digital services that are in Fiji for them. So basically, the advantage of this is because we could go to the communities, sit down, have a talk with them, in the explain them in the local context of how the digital services they can use for their advantage. Because Rotuma, if you know, they just have one tower. Digicel is the only one providing, and only about 30 to 40% of the island is covered. It has coverage, right? And the main source of network they have is Starlink. Surprisingly, they I think they had Starlink before, the communities he had Starlink before it was introduced to Fiji, right? So that is up. So that was the first thing, the first phase. The second phase was once we had returned back from the island, we were able to get some focus areas of what we need to plan and come up with. But what is the areas that needs to be looked at. So looking at that was a phase 2. Going on to quickly to phase 3 is where the digital tools were created. So ITU again came to us and said, okay, some of the things that we want to create is say online safety, financial literacy, digital communication, and e-service. So these are the 5 modules that we have already created, and these is, as I speak, I think we just last week we have given the final draft to ITU for them to have a look at all the 5 modules and then come back to us, and then if we have anything, then we can give it to hand it over to the Fijian government. So at the moment, I think these a similar thing is already been it's already in PNG and Vanuatu, because that is the reference that we were given to on to how to walk through it. So the idea is for the toolkit, it's not only for Rotuma, it is for whole of Fiji. So if we want, and the modules are set. So for example, if we want to go and teach on or create awareness or training on online safety only, I can get that module only and go and create awareness. Or if I want financial literacy, I can just get that module and teach. So scaling the toolkit across Pacific, I believe since I think PNG and Vanuatu is there, and Fiji is ultimately working on it, I think it'll be a very good idea. Once we have it, we can definitely scale it out to the Pacific for more of this digital literacy, right? And now I'll ask my friend Elenoa for the second phase of this presentation. Thank you.
Okay, now let's talk about VR. Can one of the youth IGF just tell us what VR is? Sorry? Right, virtual reality. VR is stepping into change the game for technical and vocational education for us here in the Pacific. And as we all know, traditionally, TVET programs, they require a lot of resources. They require a lot of physical resources, tools, machines. And for us here on the islands, they require us to travel to where the training sites are. Okay? But in many of our Pacific communities, these things aren't always easy to access. So this is where VR becomes a powerful equalizer for us. So we are excited to share today with all of you that we're about to start a new project funded by the Asian Development Bank and in partnership with XR Global. This will help us deploy VR training modules at our university back home, designed specifically for our students and our local needs. So this is a very exciting time for us for vocational training in the Pacific, and it also adds excitement to the way we learn, how engaged our students will be in the classroom as we slowly introduce VR into our classrooms. So virtual reality in TVET, virtual reality creates a safe space for students to learn. Students can make mistakes. They can try again as many times as they want until they are comfortable or confident enough to do things before they actually go out into the real world or actually work on a real machine. So, the beauty of VR is that it's repeatable. Every learner can practice the same task as many times as you want until they feel that confidence to work on a real machine. And because it's virtual, it doesn't rely on perfect infrastructure. If you don't have a workshop or a clinic nearby, it's not a problem. With VR, the training is brought to you, it comes to you. So for the Pacific, this helps us overcome logistical challenges while still offering world-class learning experiences. Examples of VR applications. So VR is already being used around the world. But how could this look like in our Pacific classrooms? In agriculture, one, learners can simulate planting, harvesting, and managing pests without even touching the soil. Two, in construction, they can practice using power tools, measuring accurately, or installing plumbing before ever entering a real site. And also in healthcare, students can reverse how to respond to emergencies or learning basic anatomy in a 3D environment. So these examples show how VR can be customized to fit the unique training needs of our island nations and also create a safer, more skilled graduates in the process. And on the next slide, so we've included a few highlights from our earlier experiences introducing VR into our training programs. Last year, we had the opportunity to host a team from TAFE, Queensland, who demonstrated how VR could be used in technical trainings. So this was particularly for the welding department. This was our first real glimpse of how immersive technology could transform hands-on learning. More recently, at our national OHS conference this year, we showcased how VR can be used to deliver occupational health and safety training, like working with heights, fire extinguishing trainings, and participants from across the country were able to experience firsthand how VR can simulate real-life workplace scenarios, making safety and training more interactive, engaging, and impactful. So why VR works for the Pacific? Okay. For one, it reduces the need to travel long distances for training. That's traveling is a big deal for us here in the island settings because we're moving between islands, even from rural to urban, and it isn't always easy moving around. And for us in the Pacific, we all know it's also sometimes not affordable. Second, it lowers the cost of equipment and infrastructure. So instead of buying 10 welding machines, one VR kit setup can train 50 students. It also fits with our learning styles. The Pacific communities often favor hands-on and visual learning, and VR offers that immersive experience-based education. It's not about replacing our teachers in the classrooms, but it's more enhancing them with the technology that makes learning, more exciting, more accessible, and more effective as well. But before we dive into VR, we need one essential foundation, and that's digital skills and digital literacy. If learners are not confident using smartphones or basic applications, then handing them a VR headset is not going to work. And that's why our digital skills training comes first. So when we build digital confidence, we open that door to new tools like VR and AI. It's not just about skills, it's about digital confidence and long-term digital inclusion. So where do we go from here? First, we need to scale what's already working. Our toolkit and VR models the need to reach more islands, more communities, and more learners. And to do that, we need partnership with the government, with education providers and tech companies to make this sustainable. Trainer training is key, it's vital. If our local educators are confident with digital tools and VR, then the impact will multiply. And finally, we need to keep adapting the content and delivery to match the culture, language, and the needs of each Pacific community. Okay, this isn't just a tech project, it's a movement to empower Pacific people through smart, localized, and inclusive learning.
Thank you, our FNU colleagues here for that marvelous presentation. And it's good to hear and see the VR reality on islands. And I think it's also helped with our TVET programs here at the University of Samoa, National University, because they were looking into that. So I think we can liaise you with our Faculty of Technical Education people so that you can start that conversation. So now we call upon Vivian for your presentation, please.
And I just click on here, do I? Yeah. Kia ora tātou. I want to just start with a whakatauaki from Ipurangi Aotearoa, our Internet New Zealand in Aotearoa, that was gifted to us about our work in the internet. So it goes like this. Kua rārangi tahi tātou hei whāri ki Ipurangi mō apopo. Together we weave the mat in terms of the internet for future generations. And I wanted to start with that because it feels so right for the Pacific Internet Governance Forum that we're here together weaving the mat for the internet in terms of future generations. And just starting with that, I wanted to acknowledge that with the small team of 3 staff from Ipurangi Aotearoa, the Internet New Zealand, we have 2 rangatahi from our Māori community who've come with us to learn and think about how internet governance is relevant and important in Māori communities throughout. So I just want to acknowledge that you came and the time that you're spending and investing. It's really awesome and it's wonderful to have you here. I hope some of you have had a chance to talk with these 2 wonderful wahine toa and make sure they understand what you understand about internet governance. So I'm here to talk about the latest acronym in the internet governance world and also the most awkward English word in the internet governance world. So that's, I think that they chose me for this session because it's so weird and strange, it will keep us awake. So I'm here to talk about the TCCM. And the acronym stands for a technical community coalition for, and here's that awkward word, multi-stakeholderism. I mean, is it even a word? So I've been running a little personal survey as I've been moving around this Internet Governance Forum, checking how many people know what TCCM stands for, and very few people have passed my little test. But I've been much more successful in my little survey on multi-stakeholderism. And actually, I have to say that here in Samoa, more people have a sense for what multi-stakeholderism means than in New Zealand. So I think that's because working together in collaborative groups with lots of different voices is kind of integral to the way people think in Samoa. So I think you have a lot to teach us in the global Internet Governance Forum about this multi-stakeholder word. So those are the things I wanted to talk about today. So how and why a technical community coalition on multi-stakeholderism? Obviously an important question. What's its goal and purpose? What's its work? And this is the community awareness section of our day. So what's it got to do with you and how can you join in? I heard somebody yesterday talking about we need to start a movement. And I want to say to you, the Technical Community Coalition for Multi-Stakeholderism is a movement. It's very young, less than 2 years old, and yet it is really growing fast globally, and it's becoming a really important voice in our internet governance space. And I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines supporting the Ipurangi Aotearoa staff who are involved with great appreciation for the effectiveness of this group of people, some of whom are in the room, and the work that's been achieved over this short period. So here's the thing. Internet governance itself is at an inflection point. And what that means is we've kind of all assumed that the way it is the way it is, that some 20 years ago, there was a thing called WSIS, another acronym, the World Society, the World Summit on the Information Society. So think about it, 20 years ago, the internet, it was pre-smartphones. And people weren't yet really imagining what this internet thing could mean. But at that summit, they agreed, to be honest, governments weren't that interested. This is kind of something off the side of what's really important. And so there was an agreement that the people who make decisions about the governance of the internet should be representatives of the key stakeholder groups as they were understood then. And I've read lots of definitions, and I've heard some this last couple of days. Sarai said something beautiful when we were leaving the hall just a little while ago. She said, it means that we talk to each other and work together, which is actually a pretty good definition of multi-stakeholderism. I've heard others. It's code for we're not going to let the government control it. There are lots of variations on the theme, but what they meant at the WSIS 20 years ago was they meant that the technical community who were inventing the internet and making sure that the point it was at in development had a say about how it developed from there. The academic community who were watching with, sort of a critical eyes and doing some analysis and observation were an important voice. Civil society representing the users of the internet and maybe with a human rights lens on the internet were an important voice, as were governments and business. And they were the groups who made up this thing called multi-stakeholderism then 20 years ago. But different groups have interpreted multi-stakeholderism in lots of different ways. And that's probably right, because we want it to be local and national and international. However, no matter what your relationship has been till now, it's really important that you know that there's a job both to defend what we've got and to develop it. And that's really what the Technical Community Coalition for Internet Governance is about. I was at the IGF in Kyoto, and I think Auda hosted a conversation there about, do we want to have a technical community voice that kind of pulls together our thinking about the importance of multi-stakeholderism? And if we do, how do we go about forming that? Not the voice, but a voice where the technical community views. One of the things that it might be useful for you to know about me is that before I worked at Internet New Zealand, I worked for UNICEF, which is a part of the UN. And when you work for the UN, it's easy to think that it is the only body that is truly global and responds to the common good globally. And so I was pretty amazed and inspired coming to my first ICANN meeting and then my first international IGF to think there's something even more amazing than the UN at its best, which is this multi-stakeholder group of people who get together to agree the way forward for the internet. It's much more based and informed by grassroots and not just governments, because of course the UN is very defined by member states, the governments. So I was pretty intrigued and amazed by that. So when this idea, a call for a technical community voice in this big discussion came up, I was really keen for Internet New Zealand to be a part of it. And there were 4 or 5 of us who formed a secretariat to try and get it going. And its goal is to defend, evolve, and strengthen the multi-stakeholder approach to internet governance. And multi-stakeholderism at its best is to ensure that the internet remains open, free, global, secure, resilient, and interoperable. So it's a big thing we're trying to do, and it has lots of very real threats. The technical community has started with a real hiss and a roar, and it's got involved in a whole lot of things, and that's involved information exchange between ourselves, the rapid development of views through discussion, often for the New Zealanders, Australians, and Pacific members in the middle of the night with other bodies around the world, and the development of joint positions for greater impact together. In the time we've been going, we've built the secretariat, released a statement of purpose, launched the website, built a community and a mailing list, held face-to-face working meeting events, and really started to build relationships with other stakeholders and technical community organisations. It's been really a masterclass in building a movement. The activity and the energy and the commitment of the staff from different bodies, but particularly the Secretariat, have been unbelievable how much they've achieved over and above their normal full working lives. So this map, I'm assured, is now out of date, because at the IGF that's just happened, there were 3 or 4 new members of the coalition. But you can see that there are increasingly markers on this map across the north, the global north and south, and east and west. And that's what we need, because we really want to be able to express in the different forums, and particularly the WSIS Plus 20 forum coming up, strong support from around the world for the importance of the technical voice in the in internet governance. You know, one of the threats to multi-stakeholderism is that if a UN model was used, like if a part of the UN became like the convener of the internet, then they would work with member states, and the technical voice, the civil society voice, the academic voice, the business voice would be through their normal consultation processes, which are very different and much more succinct than the multi-stakeholder processes where there's equal power across those groups. So that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for civil society, technical community, academic community, and governments and business to have a voice, and to keep those voices equal in their influence. If any of you haven't looked at the chart of the ICANN board, it's a great way to get a handle on what structuring multi-stakeholderism looks like at an institutional level. So that board very consciously and precisely has representatives of the multi-stakeholder groups on it. And a lot of energy goes into ensuring that how people get elected onto there represent those different groups. So, yeah, so I understand even in just the last few days, there has been some additions to this map. And perhaps when we get to question times, Jordan might like to update us. Really, my message today, though, is every organisation represented here, every ccTLD, academic organisation, from the technical point of view, anybody who identifies in their organisation as part of the technical community, we would love you to be members of this movement as we really keep working on messages in the WSIS +20 environment and the ICANN environment, and all the opportunities there are to keep really coalescing strength and togetherness around the idea that together we can be stronger and we can find ways of synthesizing our best views and putting them forward. One thing I'm noticing is that we're moving as a community from setup and production of some core assets to influence. And that influence is showing by the people coming to the community and asking for input, as well as us being proactively pushing our views out. And that tells me that the authority of the TCCM voice is beginning to be recognised. And as I say, I just have great admiration for the staff from amongst the ccTLDs involved who've formed the Secretariat and got it going. It's a really great story of how our technical community is determined to keep influencing and having a say about what would make our internet open, interoperable, and all those other great words. So that's what I wanted to share today. I'd love it if there were questions or people who'd like to make comments from their point of view around the TCCM. And I encourage you to consider joining if you're part of an organisation that identifies as being a technical organisation. And this is how you can do that. Check out the website, tccm.global, or email the Secretariat at info@tccm.global. I think it's a really exciting initiative that's really taken off and shows that we can work together across real differences, but within this idea of the importance of the technical voice and the way the internet develops from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian, for that presentation. So now we come to Q&A. Only 5 minutes before we give the floor to the next roundtable group. So any questions for the FNU team here? And Vivian from Mole? Yeah, you can walk down where the mic is, please. You can say your name and then state your question.
Sorry, what? Yeah, Malolele, my name is Charlotte from Toma. I'm one of the fellows in PacIGF. So this question is about the training you guys conduct in Utuma. Since you conducted the training in the community, how did you guys adapt the digital literacy training to cater to the diverse backgrounds and skill levels of the community members in Utuma? Wait, sorry. How did you guys adapt the digital literacy training to cater to the diverse backgrounds and skill levels of the community members in Watuma, since they're all from different backgrounds?
I'm sorry, your voice is kind of echoing, so please do correct me if I'm wrong. What I hear from you is how did we make the selection on who are we going to train? And if we had diversity in mind when we...
No, like what's the method you guys approached the community of Watuma, since they're all from different backgrounds, they have access to any devices, they don't have the
Okay.
knowledge of digital literacy. So what did you guys use methods or?
Okay,
approach?
so first of all, I think we really need to believe in the power of academic work as well, right? So we did some, what you call empirical literature review, which is having a look at all the work that's already done, because we need to give credit to the work that has been done rather than reinventing the wheel, right? So we try to learn from basically the lessons learned of all the other projects, because there's several donor agencies working in the Pacific, and some of them have they leave the islands with some conflicting priorities. Unfortunately, that is a reality. So we tried to learn from that. It took us, because the ITU project, as I had mentioned during my presentation, we had started in 2022, and there was a lot of groundwork done that helped us understand about the communities. And then when we knew that Rotuma was the smart island declared for Fiji, we went down to Rotuma, and for those of us who are not aware of where Rotuma is, it's one of the most beautiful, pristine islands in Fiji. But there are certain challenges that we had. One of them was, of course, well, not just in Rotuma, but many parts of the Pacific, we still suffer from digital poverty. So we had that in mind. We knew that already. So we went in with some devices. And another point that I wanted to make was, if you have been to Rotuma, you may probably know that even now, there still is barter system in Rotuma. There's not much focus on commercialization. Beautiful people, they're very hospitable, but at the same time, I would honestly say that there was some resistance on ground. If somebody is going to say you can just go deploy a solution, no, you don't do that, right? So we, in our first trip, we were there for, I think, 3-4 days. We just visited the communities, and whatever we had read, we had known, we did go with that sort of mindset, but we also went with a very open approach, right? So we wanted to have community discussions. We went to churches, we went to different communities, fishermen and women, market vendors, and there were some people who run Airbnbs there as well. So we went to the different communities, and we just tried to understand their needs. And of course, it's not very easy to just go into a community and impose your ideas. We shouldn't, and we didn't. Right? And I really think, I'm in fact quite against that. So we just tried to go and tell them why we are here, and we wanted to get their perspectives. Remember, digital rights, when we say it's a right, a citizen also has the decision to say, no, I do not want digitalization. So we gave them that opportunity. Well, rather, they gave us an opportunity. They welcomed us in their community, and they were ready to speak to us. Some Sevu was involved, I won't lie. Yes, and I think we acquired good taste of grog, while in now we all like grog, in fact. But yes, we had those conversations in the afternoons in different communities with women, with children, with elderly people, those who have a lot of indigenous knowledge about fishing. We met one interesting individual who was, he was known as that person who can catch octopus. So we just did a lot of storytelling. We allowed a lot of storytelling, and that gave us a lot of information to write our first report. And then we went back after a few months. We spent an entire week. We visited all 7 districts. So by that time, we already had a bit of a sense on, which way to navigate and what would be the predicaments we'd face. Thank you.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Peter Nichols. I'm the former digital focal for the Pacific Department and the digital sector for ADB. And I was responsible for the ADB contributions to the 3 pilots in South Malakula, Rotuma and Mafrick. I think you've kind of already answered my question with the first one. One of the challenges was on the issue of sustainability. So just to say a little bit about the technical side of the project, particularly in Rotuma, was that ADB contributed to the Starlink equipment. Apologies to my colleagues in Monday and Tuesday's meeting for using the S word again. But we only funded it for 3 or 6 months because that's as long as the funding actually allowed it to. And so there's been a question on sustainability, and you would have seen Paul had a project proposal there about what the models are for sustainability for last mile connectivity. Related to that was that it was very clear from the ITU and from ourselves that any capacity building had to be localised and it needed to be embraced by the community to become sustainable. And so my question is, did you identify certain champions in the village that took an interest in it, or were the trainings recorded and then made available or will be made available to the community at later times?
Right. Right. Yeah, I think at the moment they do have a smart classroom that is set up at the Rotuma High School. So to sustain it, I think the principal is at the moment they're looking after the facility, but they're trying to get somebody to look at the facility because they want to open it to the community. The idea is once it's open to the community, as USP is there, FNU is there, and Unifiji, we can also provide classes virtually in Rotuma as well. But at the moment for sustainability, I think they're still trying to figure that out. But yeah, at the moment it's with the school, but they do want somebody to look after it full time.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Okay.
Right. So my question, I have 2 questions. One is I'm a recent member of TCCM, and what can I do with the TCCM? Later I'll hear your answer. And the other question for this Tibet. In PNG, we don't have any digital literacy training under the Tibet. Just only college or university level, maybe we have cybersecurity training, but the Tibet level we don't have because we don't have any proper trainer. That's the problem. Not proper teacher. Even secondary schools, primary schools, IT subject is very, very boring. I always talk to our government, don't teach this desktop application, like how to use the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, nothing, forget about. Some digital content creators, maybe in Pacific, we have a talent. Like traditionally, we are drawing or even carving. But now, how about the digital? But no one teach. So I'm wondering how your AV voice catch up such technologies like digital stage management, because the current Tibet program, even college, we are not never teach. Maybe self-run, self-expense. So how about in Fiji? And how our PNG can catch up your next level, like VR, AI, ML, yeah, many new things. Yeah, thank you.
So let me begin. Is that on? Your question is, how can you get more involved with the work of TCCM? Well, I think I'd use the email address to let the secretary know you've got capacity And I'm sure they will be very happy to delegate when they're working on joint statements, to have your inputs, helping to develop that thinking. And I suggest you make a link with Jordan before the end, because he's right in there, involved with that work. So I know they're always looking for people in the membership with capacity to get engaged in developing the work. So your offer would be welcome.
Thank you. And also I'm happy to contribute from my end, both, not receive, but also contribute, both. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think just quickly on how PNG can see in Fiji, we have the National Training and Productivity Center that is responsible and mandated by law to provide TVET trainings and industry trainings. So that is what we do. And I think that is what I think if PNG, they do not have it, then maybe the government can start or they can implement something like that. So that it makes it compulsory, or they have a body who looks after the TVET trainings. Yeah.
Currently, our educational reform, previously this Tibet training is under the National Department of Education, but now it's under the Department of Higher Education. So it's slightly different, but I'll consult, after I go back to PNG, I'll consult both guys, this higher education and also original education. Thank
Okay.
you.
Actually, we're a dual sector university, and that structure is available in the world in some places, but we do know that it's not a very common setup, right? It is a dual sector university. So we also fall under higher education. But last year, I visited Shenzhen University in China. That was basically a Tibet university, but they were using complete digitalization. They had School of IoT, they had School of Virtual Reality. So I have actually met some academics from PNG. They were part of that forum as well. So I do believe that there is some scope for Tibet education. I know that the people are working in the background. If you want, I can give you some contact details.
Yeah.
But if you want us to sign up an MOU or MOE,
Yeah, of course.
sorry,
of course.
MOA?
Yeah, we are happy, and especially my main focus is this digital
Yeah.
content, digital content creation.
yes.
Yeah, because
We
we
can
have a
definitely
current.
assist because we are working
Yeah.
with the government of Nauru, we're working with Tuvalu, Marshall Islands.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other work that's currently happening, but maybe we can have a discussion after the
Yeah.
session.
Thank you.
Talofa Lava, Bula, and Namaste. I'm Bhavisha from Fiji. As a youth fellow attending IGF for the very first time and still in the learning experience, I have a question for Swaran and her team. Okay, in terms of experiential learning, how relevant and transferable are the digital skills acquired through the VR trainings, such as in carpentry, to real-world applications? And to what extent does VR-based learning effectively stimulate the hands-on experience required in practical skills-based fields and in real-world scenarios? Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavisha. Thank you, Bhavisha. So the VR trainings, okay, I think first afterwards is the digital to VR. So definitely we'll need to teach people how to be digitally literate before they can start using VR, right? That's one. Second one, why VR and how we can connect is, especially for OHS programs that we teach, right? OHS is a mandated program that all organizations needs to go through. And they have modules like walking with heights. So definitely we cannot be taking everybody like about 10 minutes up there, 10 meters high, and then showing them how they can walk, right? So VR would be a good thing for them to practice first before they do it practically. And for construction as well, this cost involved in buying timber, and then you can doing it with practically, right? Learning practical. So we can save that money, use it in VR when they are, the students are confident, they can start with the real practice. Yeah.
Yes, just to add on to that, so you asked how relevant it is. right? Okay, our first criteria was basically any training that is currently very costly, because in the islands we have a lot of we are affected by remoteness. Geographically we're quite sparse. So one was the cost factor, another one was geographical location, and then of course the high risk factor like OHS. So for our particular VR program, we currently are looking into three particular programs. And of course, we're linking it back to the studies that was done 2-3 years ago, right? So for example, women in maritime and rural areas, they are in fact a target group for that particular project. Now, in terms of how relevant and if it's going to be effective, we cannot tell you right now, because that would be rather subjective of us. Let the program completely finish, and in 2 years' time, we will have some concrete results. But at this stage, I can tell you that it's been, well researched. We have utilized some good algorithms to research this. It's not something that we just, woke up and said, okay, let's do this, right? So, for example, a 6-hour training can be reduced to 15 to 20 minutes using VR. And the reality is that our Pacific women, we are caregivers since the time we are born. Of course, there are matriarchal and patriarchal structures both in the Pacific. So we cannot expect our women to spend, and the entire week attending a full session, a full class. So that it's definitely going to reduce the number of hours that they will be studying with an immersive experience. Very similar to what Ashutosh was saying, right? Very similar to flight simulators. That's how they operate at the moment, right? The pilots have to go through the simulation training, and that's been a common practice with CAFI for a very long time. Okay.
Okay, one more question, yeah. You, and then we move to another section.
Just a quick one. Jimmy from Vanuatu. I'm also a fellow with this PacIGF. A question on the Smart Island. I understand that the Smart Island project was funded by ITU. I think this is something that if you could share your experience on for other Pacific Island countries who are looking into doing the similar project. How do you, is there any sustainability plan after the funding ends for this project?
Okay. See, I think this is not just with this project. Many Pacific projects, we have not given enough thought about monitoring and evaluation and the sustainability, right? So those type of projects that die a slow death, and we're quite aware of it. But what we're going to do now is, like in this particular case, for all the islands that that ITU Smart Island project is in, the main stakeholder there is usually Ministry of Communication. So the onus is on them to ensure that that project, it completes on time, and then they also need to give us the right type of support. So in Fiji, of course, Ministry of Communication has been very supportive. We've already launched the Smart Island, the Smart Classroom in Rotuma. And now the principal needs some support, right? More vocational trainers, more IT trainers to be able to take the project on. In terms of sustainability, so government will also have to pitch in, right? Because any donor agency, and I think what's happening with USAID is a very clear example of how we also need to learn to be sustainable. You will be funded until such time that you're expected to stand up on your own 2 feet and contribute to your own economy. So I think that funding part, we need to start doing all these revenue generation sort of activities later on, and that should be a very important component of the sustainability. Donor agencies will leave after some time, and the Ministry of Communication could be a huge stakeholder in this. Okay, happy to have more conversations with you on that later.
Okay, thank you. I think we come to the finale of this session. What about another round of applause? And we have a small token of appreciation for your participation this afternoon. Yes, give it to them. Thank you. So the next one, I'll call Andrew to introduce the roundtable session.
Thank you, Sarai. And yes, the panelists are here. I was laughing because this morning, I think Letty said, what was the word again? Voluntold. So, yeah, it was great to have these three great people here. They have very busy schedule, but thank you that they can be here. They're going to talk to us. I think it's a follow-on from what Vivian has just presented, but they're going to focus more on the WSIS plus 20 and what it is and what is it for you as maybe a government or an organization. And please welcome Maureen, Jordan, and Bree. Bree is from I think you met her already. She's from the Australian government. Jordan is from .au and Maureen is from ICOC. She's a board member from ICOC at this point in time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Right, as Andrew has mentioned, we're going to be discussing the WSIS thing is we've just come back from Norway and the IGF there, and WSIS was actually a really big issue for a lot of the sessions. But my role today is really to introduce, for those who may not be aware of what the WSIS program has actually been, just to give you a very brief rundown on WSIS and where it was, how it was established, why it was established, and where we are at the moment. So up until about, in 2000, there was really no agreed upon understanding of what internet governance is or was. And there was no overarching framework that on which they could base any digital cooperation, which was basically what the WSIS has actually been has developed in the meantime. So that there were two summit meetings that were actually held, one in Geneva in 2003, and at that meeting, the Geneva Plan of Action established 11 lines of action, which focused on creating an information society. And that addressed issues such as ICT infrastructure, access to information and cultural diversity, really a lot of the issues then, which still affect us in the Pacific today. Then the second meeting was in 2005, and this was actually the Tunis agenda. And this is when they actually made basically a generally an agreement that was generally agreed upon by the governments, because remembering that the UN is a meeting of the governments of the world. And it resulted in the governments just agreed upon a distributed multi-stakeholder approach to the governance of critical internet resources, and reinforced that the information society or the digital society of the future must be people-centric, inclusive, and development-oriented. And so when you see what has actually been happening in the IGF over the years, that has actually been the theme of a lot of the issues. But of course, at that time too, there were already organisations established, for the infrastructure, the IETF, for domain names, there was ICANN, which had only just been recently formed before the WSIS started, and of course the Internet Society, And they do tend to, I mention those because sort of like when we look at the ICOC board, for example, there is representation of those organisations on the board. But of course, at the Tunis agenda, which was in 2005, they actually said that it would be a 10-year plan and that in 10 years, they would actually do a review. And that review was in 2015. I was actually involved in that one. And so this time round, I decided that I'd let other people have a go at it. But it was a major consultation at that time, and it went back to the IGF, and they actually went back to the United Nations. They decided, of course, that they'd give us another 10 years. We're at the end of that 10 years now, and so that's where WSIS plus 20 comes into play. So I'll pass on to.
Talofa lava. Thank you, Maureen, and thank you, everyone. It's so great to be here and to speak with you today a little bit about WSIS plus 20, situating it, as well as a little bit on Australia's approach. So WSIS plus 20 covers internet governance, of course, and we're talking about internet governance of the technical layer when I say that, but it's much broader and touches on so many of the topics that have come up in the past couple of days. So we're talking content topics like social media, online safety, digital economy, AI, and entrepreneurship and innovation, as well as infrastructure such as cybersecurity, disaster resilience, and LEO satellites. So in terms of WSIS and how it also relates to the region, I did want to also mention the Lagatoy Declaration. Can I get a wave from people who have heard of the Lagatoy Declaration before? A few? So the Lagatoy Declaration on Digital Transformation for the Pacific was agreed by Pacific ministers in 2023 and essentially mapped out key focus areas. So they included digital transformation, digital security and trust, digital capacity building and skills development, digital infrastructure, and regional cooperation and representation. So there is a relationship as well between what we're talking about in the WSIS plus 20 process and the WSIS action lines and agreement more broadly, and those priorities that have been identified. I will also just mention the timeline as well and where we're at in the process. So essentially, there is a WSIS forum high-level meeting or consultations taking place next week in Geneva. There is also an elements paper which has been released, which I'll talk to a little bit later as well. And going into the later part of the year, there will be intergovernmental negotiations. And that will be after the initial text is released. So that's known as the zero draft. And after that, we have a high-level meeting and a UN General Assembly meeting that will take place in December 2025. So I will talk just a little bit about Australia's approach to WSIS this year. So Australia is actively engaging in this process and is undertaking quite an extensive consultation process and has been working closely with the domestic multi-stakeholder community in Australia, as well as having conversations more broadly. We have released a paper. It's called a non-paper because it's not a statement of government policy, but rather it outlines really a whole host of ideas around what the future of WSIS could look like across a range of topics, as well as what the future of IGFs may look like. So essentially, the non-paper is based on our review of evidence as well, and does incorporate perspectives from a range of stakeholders. And really, as I mentioned, just a starting point for future discussions, and does offer a whole host of ideas across different topics. And I'll just mention some of those. So reducing duplication and increasing digital development outcomes, improving governance mechanisms, universal and meaningful connectivity, youth, innovation, online safety and digital platforms, information integrity, cultural and linguistic diversity, gender equality, skills, digital and media literacy, AI, digital public infrastructure, and of course, the IGF, one of which we're at today. And we welcome your ideas and feedback as well. Now, I do have some hard copies of the paper, which I'm happy to distribute, maybe some light reading for the trip home, and happy to discuss it further. Also share the link to the process as well to submit with that July 15 cutoff. So please come and chat and get in touch, and happy to share those after the session. Thank you.
Nice one, Bree. Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Carter. I work for the .au domain administration and have been dabbling a bit in this WSIS stuff. The first thing to say is that the number of acronyms and 3 and 4 and 5 letters is very off-putting. So I'll try to avoid them, but I will definitely fail because of how this whole process is organized. So I'm sorry about that in advance, but I'll only apologize for it once. Bree mentioned this elements paper thing. What governments do when they do a review like this is they try and say, how have we gone with the vision of this WSIS thing? This information society thing, this modern world we live in where we're all on our cell phones, we're all using tech in our lives every day. How do we make that good for people? So the idea that the countries of the world want to cooperate on that is awesome. And they want to use this review thing to say, how are we going? And what do we need to do more of? Where do we need our priorities to be in the future? So in all of those topics that Bree mentioned, some of them there's a Pacific flavor in the Lagatoi Declaration. But there's stuff about ICT for development. There's stuff about how we bridge digital divides. There's human rights and ethical dimensions of the information society. There's confidence and security in the use of IT. Now, all those 4 topics have just been discussed in this room today by us, right? So if you're interested in the things at the IGF, and I guess you are because you're here at the IGF, there's probably stuff in this review that you are also interested in, but you would never have thought that some random thing called a WSIS review had any kind of common carriage of the issues. So I'm here to tell you that it does, and that unlike most of these UN processes where there's some random set of diplomats in New York deciding what's going to happen, or you have to fly to Geneva and spend 500 tala every 3 minutes for your hotel room, or anything like that, you are actually enabled to have a say directly about what the review should find. And the point about this elements paper that Bree mentioned is what it does is it just sets out like little half-page sections, how they think they've gone in that area and what they're looking for feedback for. So they've got a nice, easy online form that you can fill out, not too many words allowed, and you have to do that by the 15th of July. So you've got, what is that, 12 days? I don't even know what date it is today. Is it the 3rd? Yeah, so 12 days to have a look at this elements paper and just think, is there something there that I think about, that my organization thinks about, that my community cares about, where I want something to happen? It might be saying we need more finance for development in the Pacific. It might be saying you have to live up to your climate change commitments because some of our islands are going to vanish under the ocean if you don't. So it's quite a broad set of scopes, and you don't need any special status to be able to feed into this consultation. You can do it as an individual. You don't have to be affiliated. You don't have to have a fancy title or a degree or anything like that. You can have a say. And the people who are running this process, the two countries, diplomats from Albania and Kenya, I think, are the so-called co-facilitators or COFACs, because that needs to be abbreviated as well. They are people who are really saying, and they said this a lot last week at the IGF, they really want to hear from people on the ground at the grassroots about what impact this WSIS thing is having and how it could help. Now, one of the things that's covered is the IGF itself. The Internet Governance Forum was created by this Tunis process. First one met in Athens in 2006, and 5 years later was the first Pacific IGF. And there's been IGFs in Australia, New Zealand, Vanuatu. There are lots of others that I will have missed just in this area. And the point is that this system of these national events, these regional events, this global event is a great way to channel up global thinking, share expertise and best practice. So we would like the IGF to stay there. We'd like it to keep going. Because if this review process doesn't say, yeah, keep going, it finishes at the global level or will stop. And if the global level goes away, then it makes it a bit harder for us all to have anything to feed up our ideas and suggestions to. So one of the things that the TCCM that Vivian talked about is definitely going to be saying is, please keep the way that the internet is governed open and multi-stakeholder like we have it, so all of our voices count. And please say, keep the IGF as a forum where that discussion can happen at the global level, where those grassroots voices can come up. So 15 July, 12 days away. How to find the forum? You can do a search on your favorite search engine for WSIS plus 20, WSIS, the little plus icon, not PLUS, plus 20, 20, elements paper. And that will get you at least started in the right direction, or chat with any one of us. And I think that we might be low on time, so that's where I'll finish this bit. Please have your say.
Thank you, panel members. I think it is clear with everyone. If we have like 30 or 40 people here, that will be 30 voices. So thank you, Jordan, for making that clarification. Now the floor is open. It's a round table, so please feel free to share, feel free to add on to whatever has been said, ask questions. So the next, how many minutes do we have, Sarai? Sorry? Yeah, I think it's, okay. Yeah, please reflect or ask questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much to the panel for introducing this and advocating for the region to have their voices represented in the process. So I think since Andrew has made the call that we really need to put some input from the Pacific and 15 July deadline, how can we make sure that we really do have Pacific voices? Is someone tracking that? Or we can only say it here, but what if there's really no voices from the Pacific in the process? How can we make sure that there's Pacific voices? Some of us can only do the advocacy and all that, but we won't be able to do the input. But can we make a call, or can the Pacific really make sure that they did put in something? How do we do that?
I live in Australia. I'm not going to answer that question, and neither are you. So, or Andrew might have an answer. Maybe Sarai? Yeah.
I think that's an open question for everyone in the room who identifies as from the Pacific and might have thoughts and opinions on some of these topics. I know in the workshop discussion we had on Monday with Swaran and Beck and the youth IGF participants, there were lots of ideas that came out about opportunities, challenges, future of IGFs. maybe that was a starting point.
I think,
So over to anyone else who has comments.
Maybe just to clarify, will PICISOC put in something for the Pacific?
I think we will definitely put something, but thank you for the challenge. Yes, as a community, we will, but I think the opportunity is wider than that, just as a one voice. Each individual has a voice. So those of you who are from governments or regulators or any organization, you can also submit something. So as I said, we have this opportunity. 2 weeks is, I think it's enough to make a submission, I say, for our voices to be heard. So you heard what Jordan said, and I believe you understood what he said about if the meeting in December decided to stop the multi-stakeholder engagements because there was not enough submission or enough interest, then that's it. Unless somebody else wants to make an intervention. Okay. Jordan, I'll give you the last moments. If you have any final words with your team, then we can wrap up.
You've given a call to action.
Yeah, I think don't get scared of it would be my advice. There's lots of language here, but if you read the elements paper, it's actually in the scale of these things quite good. You can look at Bree's paper to see some Australian ideas if you want. And just if you think you've got something to say, don't worry about whether you said it the right way or not. They've got teams of people who are taking this content. So wherever you're at, have your say.
Thank you. This is the real deal. We've always talked about talk fest, but this is going to be an action fest on this one. And if we participate, it will make a difference for the Pacific. Thank you. So thank you, panel members, and everyone. Give them again a round of applause. Before you go, please accept our sincere thanks in appreciation with a small gift.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's head off to a break and then come back for the final session. Thank you.
Fun fact I would like to share with you, we share the same first name. We come from the same province. Yes, we are the owners of the biggest bay in Fiji. So I'm very happy to have Mr. Savenaca Vocea with us in all Pacific Island internet governance event. He's usually supporting us. And we are very appreciative of his support, his organization support, sharing his knowledge with us. Sabe is an ICANN Regional Vice President for Stakeholders Engagement, serving the Oceania region. He is responsible for managing relationship with key stakeholders to bring ICANN to the region. So without further ado, please put your hands together for name.
So, yeah, how do you get this up? It's up, okay. All right, Bula Vinaka, everybody. Talafalava and good afternoon to you all. I'm just delighted to be addressing the Pacific IGF today. I'd like to thank our generous hosts, sponsors, and all of you who have stayed back this afternoon. So today I'm going to talk about how we can make the internet more inclusive and welcoming the next billion people who will be coming online and the next round of applications for the new generic top-level domains or GTLDs. I'm going to provide an overview of the internet and the domain name systems, the DNS, which makes it so easy for us to navigate. I want to tell you about a rare opportunity that's coming up to help build digital inclusivity via new generic top-level domains. In the next round of the new GTLD program, ICANN is making financial and non-financial assistance available to qualified new GTLD applications through the applicant support program and streamlining the entire GTLD application process by evaluating registry service providers as part of the RSP evaluation program. I'll also go through the important timelines in other resources pages to consider. Now, the internet is a vast network of interconnected networks. Today, more than 5.5 billion people are online every day. And according to Statista, more than 20 billion IoT devices are connected to the internet. Every single one of these devices has an internet protocol address or the IP address, which is a long series of numbers. In simplified layman's term, an IP address is like a postal address. It allows messages, videos, and other packets of data to be sent from one device and to receive data from the other connected devices. But a long series of numbers can be difficult for us people to remember, so the domain name system, or DNS, allows us to enter a domain name instead of an IP address to reach a website. For instance, here you only need to type www.icann.org into the browser to reach our website instead of using the IP addresses. And ICANN helps coordinate and support these unique identifiers across the world. A domain name is the URL or the address of a website. It generally has a three-part structure, which are separated by a dot. So first is a subdomain or third-level domain like www, and the second-level domain, which is the name of the website, and the top-level domain like .org or .com. In a domain name, the TLD appears after the second dot. Say, for example, in this example, the domain name icann.org, org is the TLD. So the DNS started with just 7 general purpose top-level domains, including org, .com, and .net. ICANN launched the new GTLD program in 2012 and resulted in the largest expansion of the DNS. It introduced generic top-level domains, short and long GTLDs, and GTLDs in different scripts. So this included the internationalized domain names, like those you see here at the bottom. ICANN has carried out 3 application rounds. The first one was in 2000, and then in 2004, and in 2012. Now, the 2012 round of new GTLD applications was the largest expansion of the DNS to date, aimed at encouraging innovation, competition, and consumer choice in the domain name system. In the 2012 round, we received 303 applications from the APAC region. And today, there are now over 1,200 GTLDs delegated. And the DNS supports domain names in multiple scripts, as we've shown, and as well as the GTLDs that are longer than 3 characters. From .accountant to .wine to .berlin to .photography, these new GTLDs represent brands, communities, and geographies. Now, the new GTLDs are intended to provide greater consumer choice. GTLDs can represent cultures, brands, geographies, communities, and special interests. For example, for .rugby, .durban, and .apple. Yesterday, since we're talking about rugby, I saw like one of the people's favorite teams here, I think for the Pacific, the Fijian Drua team, they're using Drua.rugby. And I think today Vivian also showed how TCCM is using TCCM.global. So here are some of the other examples of use cases of new top-level domains. As you can see that it's like businesses and IDNs, like that Chinese script is trademarked in English, there's .eco, and for cities like .amsterdam. So what is the new GTLD program, the next round? It's a new round of new GTLD program that is opening to the request of ICANN's global multi-stakeholder community, which developed the program over a number of years and is being implemented by ICANN in line with the community-developed policy recommendations with a mandate to assure that the expansion ensures the security, stability, and global interoperability of the internet. So for the first time in a decade, in more than a decade, in April 2026, businesses, communities, governments, and other organizations have the opportunity to apply and operate a new GTLD tailored to fit organizational, businesses, community and cultural customer needs and interests. And some of the new features of the next round, that this was not available in the next round, are a strengthened applicant support program, which aims to make the program more accessible to entities who might have financial and other resource constraints. So this program, I think for the Pacific, if there are organizations out here in the region, this could be a program that they could apply under. So standalone registry service providers, RSP evaluation program, which intends to reduce the cost and time required for evaluating new GTLDs by separating the evaluation of the technical aspects of operating a GTLD from the application of the GTLD label. So, you know, as an applicant, you could use an RSP, a service provider, to do your backend provisioning for you. And the pre-evaluation window closed in May 2025, and additional scripts are available for internationalized domain names, and there are now a total of 26 scripts that can be used in DNS representing over 380 languages. And entities will be able to apply for IDN variant TLDs. A variant label is an IDN that can be registered in different ways due to variations in the spelling of words in a given script, but mean the same thing. So let's look at the GTLD opportunities. For businesses, a GTLD is a branding opportunity. And the opportunities are almost limitless, allowing individual businesses, commercial organizations, or entire sectors to develop a unique label for themselves on the internet. New GTLDs will benefit people, businesses, and communities from indigenous, religious, or linguistic communities to companies, to governments that want to address customers and constituents in local scripts, to communities that share passion or commonality that are scattered throughout the world. These groups and entities have the opportunity to reflect their community, values, and geographic or cultural niches via a new GTLD. And some of the benefits of operating a GTLD. An organization managing a GTLD can vet businesses requesting a domain name to maintain trust in or to protect the brand associated with the GTLD. And some GTLDs are operated for the benefit of a particular community. These TLDs allow people with similar interests or values to connect with one another and share information and ideas. So if implemented well, a GTLD can be a source of significant revenue through the management of domain name registrations and renewals. Aside from the objectives, an organization might be applying for the GTLD, there are technical and financial considerations as well. So as an applicant, your organization is really requesting to operate a registry that represents part of the internet infrastructure. A registry operator sets the requirements for the GTLD and determines which second-level domains can be registered and by whom. So what are some of the responsibilities of the registry operators? There are many aspects like technical, financial, regulatory to running a registry. The registry operator plays a key role within the internet ecosystem. They maintain the master database of all domain names registered in each top-level domain and generate the zone file that allows computers to route internet traffic to and from TLDs anywhere in the world. Registry operators are responsible for maintaining the registry for each top-level domain, and the responsibilities of the registries include accepting registration requests, maintaining a database of the necessary domain name registration data, and providing name servers to publish the zone file data. That is the information about the location of a domain name throughout the internet. Some registry operators may choose to outsource some of the technical requirements to a third party called a registry services provider. So for people that would like to learn more about becoming a registry operator, you're encouraged to take advantage of the ICANN Learn course, which is available on icann.org. The process of applying to operate a registry business is more complex than registering a domain name, which any individual or organization can do and should not be entered into lightly. So all the new ggTLD applicants must be able to demonstrate the operational, technical, and financial capacities necessary to operate a registry. Some of these operational and technical capacities like backend services can be outsourced to third parties called registry service providers. But applying for a new ggTLD registry requires financial and technical resources, including staff and equipment that are out of reach for many. And the evaluation fee is set at $227,000 US. And so for more information, this is available in our FAQs on the Next Round website. I want to share more about the information about the applicant support program. So applying for, as we know that, you know, as I've said earlier, applying for a ggTLD can be expensive and may be out of reach for many. So the applicant support program makes applying for a new ggTLD more accessible to entities that are unable to because of financial and other resource constraints. And the candidates must be one of these type of entities, like from not-for-profit or non-governmental and charitable organizations. Intergovernmental organizations are being targeted, and also indigenous tribal peoples and organizations. And I think importantly for small and micro businesses that are social enterprises from less developed countries, they can also qualify under the applicant support program. I believe that, you know, for the revenue side, at least for these small companies, they should be earning less than US $5 million annually. So the criteria for the applicant support to be eligible for this assistance, you know, you can look up more information on the ASP handbook, where you'll find the evaluation criteria for how you can qualify, especially like things like business due diligence, that we're making sure that the submitted applicants are complete with legal compliance check and background screening. Also, the public responsibility due diligence will be performed to check that the applicant does not produce, trade in, or promote in industry string that is contrary to generally accepted legal norms of morality and public order that are recognized under the principles of international law. And also, we want to look at the financial need, looking at whether paying the full ggTLD application fee presents financial hardship on the applicant. Importantly as well is the financial viability, looking at how the applicant intends to cover the unsupported costs of the ggTLD applications and the evaluation fees. And upon qualifying for the support, the applicant is able to submit a deposit. And the eligible entity status to check that the type of organization of business is eligible. For applicants that apply, that qualify for support, The program offers a range of financial and non-financial assistance to help applicants apply for a GTLD. The financial assistance includes fee reductions between 75 to 85% based on available numbers of applicants that qualify for the support. So 75% will be the minimum fee reduction for supported applicants, and 85% is the maximum reduction for supported applicants. It's important to note that fee reduction will apply only to one GTLD application per supported applicant. And a qualified ASP applicant that participates in contention resolution procedures in the new GTLD program will also be able to receive a bid credit. So non-financial assistance includes access to volunteer professional services, training, and resources. Lastly, here are some of the important dates that you may want to take note of. The applicant support program have started receiving applicants, and this will close on the 19th of November this year. So if you wanted to be considered to be an applicant support program before the 19th of November, you should have submitted something into ICANN. The new GTLD program applicant guidebook is out for public comment, with the final board approved version to be made available before December 2025. And the new GTLD program is expected to open to receive applications in April 2026. So if any entity is thinking about applying for a new GTLD, I think this slide should help you prepare, as it gives you the estimated timing of the application period for the ASP and the registry services provider programs, as well as the general submission period for new GTLD applications. So the GTLD program Next Run website also offers the most up-to-date information about the next round of applications for new GTLDs. You'll see that there's news and announcements, the FAQs to help understand more about the program. Importantly, the ASP and RSP handbooks as well, and the applicant guidebook. I guess that for those that are wanting to apply, they need to download the applicant guidebook when that's available, because it is the playbook of how you participate in this program. So thank you very much. That was my presentation to really raise this awareness in the region. I know that this session has been webcast, and so a lot more people in the region can know of this program. Thank you.
Naivalu, Mr. Vocea, for that wonderful presentation. Participant, we haven't finished yet. We have another very powerful speaker coming up. If you look down to the table in the front here, we will see a Papua New Guinea flag, PNG flag. And you will be wondering which one of the speakers is from Papua New Guinea. But I'll tell you something. This next speaker is more Papua New Guinea than any other Papua New Guinea. We met him last year. He was talking about Papua New Guinea. This year he's talking about Papua New Guinea. Let's hear him, Mr. Russell.
Right, I think second last session. Please stand up. Please stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up. And make a stretch up, down, this side, and the turn across, and the turn across again, and say hello to your neighbors. Say hello. But please say hello to your language. Don't use English hello. Yeah, use your language. So in Japan, I can say konnichiwa, and in PNG, I can say afternoon true. All right? Everyone all right? So please be seated. Thank you. Okay, thank you, MC Sabe-san, and thank you, organizing team of PacIGF, and I'm the right mix. Asia and the Pacific at the bottom. If I mix with Pacific up and Asia bottom, then I don't have any kids. Like a typical Asia, but lucky I'm Asia and the Pacific at the bottom, and I'm lucky I find one beautiful Pacific lady in PNG, not someone unfortunately. Yeah, so I have three sons and also two adopted. Yeah, again, my name is Russell Deka Harada. I'm a director of ICTS, PNG University of Technology. I'm originally from Japan, but been here, Papua New Guinea, 28 years. So thank you, MC. Like I'm more than PNG, I believe. Yeah, and I'm very proud of this PNG flag because this .pg domain as a ccTLD manager, and the .pg domain is a country flag inside this cyberspace. So just only 4 years before I joined to this PNG University of Technology as a director of ICTS. Before that, I know PNG Unitech managing this .pg domain, but no one did marketing. Yes, we have a good manager, technical manager, and we have a good DNS officer. Unfortunately, she retired, and after a year, she passed on. Very sad, but very limited at that time. Every process, when you want to apply new domain, like abc.com.pg, then you have to download form first, fill it, stamp it, sometimes send a fax, sometimes attach the email, and process by command basis and registered. So all process manual. And also you imagine all these record files is just only single Excel file with comment, 1,000 comment, when this domain started, when this payment paid, whatever, everything manual. So first I joined to this university, I found we need to automate this system because I attended several regional and also global meetings like APTLD, EPNIC, and also ICANN, and I had many other ccTLDs already automated nearly 20 years back. But how about us? We are 20 years late, but still not too late, so we need to catch up. I created this .pg roadmap. It takes very long time because we didn't automate it yet. So we selected automated registry system service provider and system implementation, July to September 24. And last year in Wellington, I attended this PacIGF travel support and EPNIC 58. Last presence in there. And a year later, I attended this APTLD 86 by online. And also finally, we scheduled November 24. We want to submit our new policy and the pricing, but unfortunately delay over many technical hiccups. So finally, we signed the DNSSEC, scheduled December 24, but delayed to April 25. 22nd of April 2025, we signed in DNSSEC. What is DNSSEC? I'm not fully technical. So next my presentation, I'll call my good friend Edwin from Fiji.fj from University of South Pacific USP. He can explain to you about the DNSSEC. So don't ask me a question about the DNSSEC because yeah, but anyway. So after this signing DNSSEC, at the same time, we are launching this .pg automated registry system. All right, and we are here. Currently, I'm attending this PacIGF and the PAC-ccTLD forum, which held tomorrow. And in 2 weeks' time, we have a council meeting because still this .pg is under the university management. So I have to endorse this new policy and the pricing. 4 years before, I approached to our vice chancellor, BC, this is our gold mining. Why we are not look after? And he surprised because he didn't understand this is gold mining. We can generate the money as other ccTLDs like Tuvalu.tv domains. .au, I know our neighbors, they have a few million users and generate the income annually. but .pg, at that time in 21, we have a 3,000 minus domains, like around 2,800 domains. But I found nearly 1,000 domains are free riders, never paid. Past 10 years, never paid. Especially government domain is the worst. Health, police, even immigration, nearly 12 years outstanding. So I advised to this DNS officer at that time and stop it immediately because no longer free riders. So after we did the cleanup in 22, nearly 1,000 domains deleted, stopped. So these are 2008 numbers come down to around 2,000. And then again, we'll start the limited marketing. Like, do you know, yesterday Sabe touched about the sports, rugby. Yes, I was playing rugby union when I was in Japan, but after come to PNG, yes, union, yes, but rugby league, rubber. So, you know, I want to see these shirts. So I'm sponsoring this annual PNG event. This Turkai. Turkai is one of the largest rice supplier in PNG, and many PNG people rice eater, more than Asian people. And I sponsored this event every nearly 4 years. Continue to support, and of course this Turkai Funline event supported Team PNG. So recently, you know, this mini Pacific game in Palau, but no one touched this topic because this is a Pacific event. Come on, someone forget about. So I want to ask to the audience, please pause this DNS issue, and which country is a medal territory, top of this medal territory at this moment? You guess, which country? So answer is Tahiti. Who answered the Tahiti? Yeah, please get this small gift from my end. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very surprising. You know, PNG has a 12 million population. That means 90% of Pacific population we have. But unfortunately, we are not top. Top is Tahiti, second is Samoa, third is maybe French Polynesia, fourth is Australia, fifth is Fiji, and sixth is PNG. Always I'm shame why PNG not show the presence. But anyway, this is other topic. So I fully supported these sports events, especially athletes and swimmers. And also this schedule back to on track. We have to launch this DNS portal site because many people need to direct access to our registry. And also we need to introduce our registrar system, our telcos or our small SMEs. As you know, PNG has a huge land mass, more than New Zealand. So we need to set up regional registrars because if we are not setting regional registrars, then everything fly to Mosby. Port Moresby is fine, our capital, but I don't like it. So decentralized. So I'm targeting current number of users from 3,000 to 5,000 till end of this year, and till end of next year, maybe 10,000. It's possible, but it depends on the marketing, right? And also, as I mentioned, this automated registry system, we are called for tender, and some of the registry service providers, thank you, Patrick from ID, he also applied, but unfortunately we are not giving him a contract, and we selected Coca New Zealand. Yeah, we awarded this contract. And also we created this .pg portal site. Very soon we'll launch, but our requirement is that you have to show the presence in PNG or you have to show your interest in PNG. We are not open for global, like a PG stand for Pacific Games, or even PG stand for postgraduate. PG stand for Peanuts Group, or I don't know. Yeah, many meaning, but we can't open to the global because we want this .pg become a junk space. I can't name some other Pacific ccTLDs. Yeah. So we are keeping this sovereignty about the PNG, and we have to manage this well. And also April, we signed this DNSSEC and also applied this Anycast service. As I said, don't ask me the detail of DNSSEC. My friend Edwin can explain to you very well. And also we applied the IPv6. Previous our DNS server is just only IPv4, but at the same time we signed, we applied this Anycast service with IPv6, right? And the other things, as I said, ccTLD makes money. I believe this WS domain in Samoa also makes money. SP for Solomon Island, what's on right, you makes money. And Nauru, sorry, Raj, I think you are small ccTLD and not collecting a lot of money, but like a .au, a lot of money. So like a Auda Foundation maybe can support us. So this .pg also joined to these things. We generate money and we want to reinvest future generation. Example, this FinTech Incubation Center project. We already signed the MOU with our Vice Chancellor and the Center for Excellence for Finance Inclusion under the Central Bank. And we'll very soon, we'll convert these small role type lab to FinTech Incubation Center. I'm very shocked because our neighbor Solomon Island already started this mobile wallet, e-wallet service, but how about PNG? Not really. Still, we can't use QR code to buy a buy beetle nut, QR code to ride a PMB, QR code to order some pizza or food, nothing. So we definitely need to set up this FinTech Incubation Center project, and I'm collaborate with our academics. Other topic is this capacity building. I'm very old, bit old, and old people must out. And these young guys must take over my place. So maybe next PacIGF somewhere in Pacific, I want to send some young, energetic person like my friend Christelle and also my friend from DICT Nancy. So not only boys, but also girls. So beginning of next year, we have a plan to have this other hackathon program called Bridges 26 Summer School in the South Pacific. And I wish someone can assist us, support us in this movement. Currently, as our Pacific universities, all 15 Pacific universities include here, NSU and the USP, FNU, and Solomon National University, all across the university meet our campus. I am the vice chair of this organizing committee, but I said excuse to our vice chancellor, BC. This is important for academics, but I'm also important to attend this PacIGF because I'm the only person in PNG can do it. All right. So I think I mentioned some discussion point, but not necessary. I think a unique background of PNG. PNG is of course Pacific country, but a population-wide, land mass, and resource-rich country. So slightly different contexts we have. And also a lot of corruption and criminal cases. Very sad. How we can stop it? Introduce this multi-stakeholder model. Like a CEO of Internet New Zealand mentioned, we need in PNG DNS ecosystem. We can generate the money and create such ecosystem. Set up PNG IGF is one thing, and official forming PNG NOG. We have PNG NOG, but not official forming. And also cyber security awareness, many cyber bully, cyber cheating in PNG. And the Pacific academic partnership and create job opportunities. So during my stay in here, I approached to Sarai and her director of this university, why we can't make a staff exchange program. I can send some staff a week in here and they can send their staff a week in here. Even why not in Fiji, our neighbors. All right, I'll stop it. This is my motto. My background was a database engineer. I was the last COBOL database engineer in late 90s. And at the time, very busy. Sometimes 3 days a week overnight work, sometimes 3 months no leave. So that's why I applied to JICA volunteer under the government program. And this interviewer asked me, which country do you want to go? And my answer is simple. I can go anywhere in the world. And then fortunately or unfortunately, this government sent me to PNG. And fortunately or unfortunately, sent me to the upper highland, not the lowland coast. And this Goroka is my home, and Goroka is everything I have. At that time, my pay is volunteer, of course, very small salaries. And after volunteer end, I made a contract with the University of Goroka, which teacher education, and very small salaries. But I have a village background because this name, Russell is not Japanese name. But when I was playing rugby union, one of my best teammate is Russell, late Russell. And he passed on. Year 2000, October, he passed on inside the bush between border of Highland and the coastal areas. I don't know what's happening. But I had and I returned back to PNG and I hired a single engine small airplane. I hired a speedboat and I found his dead body after two days search. So I packed to his dead body, already buried inside, beside of water, and I found his dead body and carried back to his village. So this late Russell family legally adopted me. So many people misunderstanding why his name Russell, because he's a mixed parentage of America or Australia or whatever. No, because of this background. So as I said, I'm lucky. I found the PNG, and I'm lucky this ICT education background 20 years, and then some political crisis, and they kicked me out. But I shifted to other agriculture university in Rabaul, and at that time I was teaching all 200 students. That's why I have strong voice, strong neck, energetic. Sometimes attractive. Always these academics mark me. Monday morning, 8 o'clock is your class time. But Monday morning, has a, yeah, but anyway, I can't touch my teaching. Yeah, so always I'm thinking for a better education with digital technology. Always PNG people love this word, number one, best, but sometimes number one and best is very difficult. But for a better education with digital technology, my conclusion is a farfetai. Thank you, True. Arigato. And you see, not my contact. When I arrived to Samoa, first I found the domain is this welcome to Samoa and the BSP signboard. You can see this BSP Samoa at bsp.com.pg. Thank you. When I arrived here, very smile because these are some people not using a .com, .ws rather than .pg. So below is my contract. And the last one slide is .auda. Thank you, Bruce and Jordan-san and the team supporting me. And thank you, True, on helping Auda all get the time. Thank you, True. Arigato.
Thank you very much, sir, for that kind entertaining presentation. I know we all loved it. I told you guys, no more is more PNG than Mr. Russell. But in the Pacific context, we see that he has collaborated with one of the stalwarts of domain names in Fiji. Very well-known person. He plays rugby also before. But we are very fortunate that this is the intention of this forum, for us to come and use each other's strength and capabilities to build up and work together for the betterment of the Pacific nations. So with all that, I'll welcome Mr. Edwin. Can you please give a round of applause for Mr. Edwin?
Maybe before I start, it's interesting that Russell should talk about rugby. Perhaps that's why he gave me that hospital pass just now, and I'm standing up here before you. So when the conversation was going on, he would say, oh, you're going to talk about DNS security. What I didn't clarify was is it DNSSEC or DNS security? I took it as DNS security, so I do apologize if my slides don't align quite that well. I'll talk a little bit about, sorry, can you? I represent the University of the South Pacific, and I hope my colleagues here at the National University of Samoa don't mind, Samoa National University don't mind. And we operate in 12 countries around the Pacific. So depending on where you're from, Molivurae. It's important for us to be able to understand what the role is. I work for the IT services department back at the university, and we currently hold 3 specific roles. And those are obviously in academia. We support the academia, our students and staff in terms of, the operations, and that's our core business. If we take this hat off, the other role that we play is we actually run a miniaturized ISP, not as big as Vodafone or Telecom, don't get me wrong, we're just very small. And in the sense that we operate a local presence at our landing station, we link up to Australia over BGP, and at the same time too, we have an old satellite platform, KU-band and C-band, that we've been operating for many years, and that's what we were using to serve a lot of our campuses in the region before undersea fibers came in and before all these LEO satellites started to get introduced into the Pacific. But then on the other hat, we also operate the .FJ ccTLD for Fiji, which we've operated since the 1990s. It actually went into operation in 1991. Now, the good thing about it is, in terms of DNSSEC, and if I can just speak about that for a second, we only signed back in 2020 or 2021, somewhere around that period. So we've only been signed for about 4 years. In that 4 years, we've had some trouble around the space, and it's to do with technical understanding of how the rollover of DNSSEC keys work, and it's not as automated as one would think it is. The generation of the DNSSEC keys is automated, but the registration and process that you have to go through with our online with the online portal is still manual. So that's but we're learning as we move along, and we're bringing some lessons for which we're going to share with our ccTLD partners in a session later. But I thought I should talk about the fact that once you've signed your ccTLD, or even if you do DNSSEC internally with your own domain controllers and your domain system on DNS, what concerns us outside of that platform is the security around DNS itself. Obviously, every time you go to a site, the first thing you're going to load is DNS, right? www.google.com or whether it's facebook.com. So what we're seeing is, one, because we're an operation, so we have internal threats coming from our users. 2, we also run the ccTLD, so we're a target for any nation that may want to take Fiji's economy down. We see a lot of hits hitting us both internally and externally, and that's where our DNS security comes into play. So if we were to correlate some of the security signatures that we're seeing at the moment, the graph up here shows the kind of traffic we're generating internally, but at the same time too, we can actually see some of that actually come from outside. Now there's a lot of data going on here. And obviously when you see stuff like this, some of the things that you'll be asking yourself is, okay, who's doing this? Which countries are doing this? Which user is doing this internally? If it's a user internally, how do we correlate all of that? And that's why I really liked the presentation that Sakayo gave earlier, because usually you'd need some sort of system to be able to aggregate all that information and collect that. So, we can see that a lot of the traffic that's hitting our DNS, on UDP is about 32% of traffic that's actually hitting up there. So for us, that shows us, the fact that DNS is quite critical within the information that we're collecting. And then using an XDR platform, which is specifically for infrastructure, we aggregate all those logs and we try and identify some of those threats that exist. But obviously, with a lot of this information that's floating around, I guess one of the questions that we're always asking ourselves, okay, how do we trace the threat vector? How do we identify the threat? And so we're starting to explore a little bit in AI and analytics. And basically, what we've been able to achieve is
stuff like this, where we can pull out, obviously, in some sort of incident report, right? And we'll have an executive summary. This is in relation to a DNS exfiltration that we've just identified. So basically, DNS can also be used to exfiltrate data from your operations, right? And so we are able to pick information up like this. We found an incident that was taking place, and then we have to trace. We get a summary of the communication and who's talking, both internally and externally, and we're able to correlate that. But at the same time, too, we need to identify who are those within it. Now, don't get me wrong. We have a lot of users coming into the university, and most of them probably don't know what's taking place within their devices, students, staff. So eventually we identified that the device was coming out of Tonga in this particular instance as we traced it back. But what we do in this particular instance is we actually reach out to the student concerned, and we actually told them, hey, why don't you come in and let's just run you through some sort of cyber awareness. At the same time, too, we'll get your device cleaned, and then you can go about your business. Yeah, so that's the approach that we currently take. But so this is just an example of me showing you what happens from the in going out. I'd rather not show you what happens on the out coming in. And so for me, the opportunity there is using platforms like that and AI. I generated this report in 5 minutes. So in terms of analysis, it accumulates all our logs from wherever it's coming from all our security portfolios or security platforms, and aggregates it into a central system, and then spits out that information for us. So that's pretty much all I had for you today in terms of DNSSEC. It's not necessarily with the signing and everything, but yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Edwin. I know that when it comes to the end, it keeps on getting very interesting. Eh? We would like to hear more from these gentlemen. But unfortunately, time has caught up with us. We have other programs to run in the afternoon. So do we have time for Q&A? Okay, we have time for Q&A. If you would like to hear more of the knowledge and the experience that we have in regards to top-level domain, don't be fooled by their young looks. These guys are very experienced. They've been there when internet has been powered by bicycles. So please do ask any questions that you have in regards to top-level domain or security or cybersecurity. Yes, we have question. Please go ahead, sir. Okay. Do we have any questions from the participant? Pacific IGF Fellows Youth? Do you have any questions in regards to top-level domain? Is it this is the first time you have heard about top-level domain and the functions of top-level domain? I know most of you look surprised. Okay, we have a question over this side.
Thank you very much. Peter Nichols again. Question for Save in relation to ICANN, but also, I guess in a way, what Russell's talking about with the fintech work. Are there connections with Web3 and like we're seeing now, for example, the Ethereum name system where people can just type in kind of like an address instead of their long characters for their blockchain wallet addresses. Are they talking to ICANN about those interactions or progressing in that sort of area? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter, for that question. Within ICANN, we are open to participation from anyone that's interested to discuss the management of the DNS and unique identifiers. And within our organization, there is a group called the Office of the CTO, and they look at what's out there as well as emerging technologies and the communities that are operating in those emerging technology type of thing like blockchains and all that. But as far as we know that globally there's only one internet, and everything that's running right now is using the DNS and unique identifiers to operate their services. But we understand that they also have their ways to I think it's for this decentralization, but we know that they are also probably coming into ICANN for the next round to get some of the domain, the top level domains for them to operate under. But in terms of how this is going to work, I think that's some discussions that has to be had.
Naivalu, thank you for that question. Any other question?
Ravindra, and thank you, Mr. Savenaca, for that very informative, very factual and interesting presentation. I'm a librarian and I have been the president of the Library Association for many years. But I find that every year we have to pay web hosting costs to the CSL, and our library website does not seem to have much impact from our overseas collaborators, such as in Fiji and New Zealand. Not many comments. And I hear that some web hosting organizations offer it for free from the US. And I just wonder whether that is a fact that is true, that we can apply to other organizations to acquire a .com type of a domain address for our small website.
Okay, so your question really is about getting the extra services from maybe your top level domain registry. Like you mentioned CSL, they run the .ws, and then they are also providing hosting services for you, and how maybe you can minimize that costs. I think within ICANN, we are more focused on the top level. Once the top level domains, once those functions have been delegated or assigned to the ccTLD, for instance, in the country, they run the operations of the business the best they can based on their policies and the way they want to run the business. And I think some of the ccTLDs in the region, they don't offer that. But I guess if you're hosting some TLD, I mean a domain name, you should really just work with your registrar who probably is offering that. I'm not sure if you guys want to clarify as well.
Thank you. And this is big challenges for all of our Pacific ccTLDs. So if like as I said, we didn't do the marketing, people doesn't know how to apply .pg domain. That's why they didn't apply. Escape to .com, full stop. Or even some Australian-based company present in PNG, but still using .com.au in PNG. And one joke, a few years before, our police department did police recruitment, but something police@gmail.com. So many companies in PNG still using Gmail service, but Gmail is not genuine, as you know. So we need to encourage. In PNG, we have around 70,000 registered companies, but out of 70, let's say 2,500 using .com.pg, less using Gmail. So I'm collaborate with our tax collector, which IRC commissioner, he is our university chancellor too. So because the tax compliance, this email contact is very important. So I consult with our company registry, which means IPA and tax collector IRC, and encourage our PNG registered company in case must apply .pg domain.
Do I need to say anything? I'll just explain from a technical perspective. Yep. Your question about whether websites are free, not necessarily. There's a fee to be paid. You've got to pay for three things. You've got to pay for the website hosting. You've got to pay for the DNS, in other words, the WS or .fj, and then you've got to pay for the security around it. Essentially, ccTLDs, you would usually just sell you a TLD some sort of domain name. The hosting of the server still has to pay. As a university, we are for .fg, we cannot host websites because we're not a commercial entity. So you would buy the .fj from us, go and buy the website from somewhere else, and then get a DNSSEC sign, if that makes sense. For you in Samoa, your TLD is hosted by a commercial entity that can offer those services.
Nakawalewu, yes.
Thank you. Can I get everyone to just rub the palm of their hands really, really fast? So when I say Batia, that means you clap. Mili, Batia, Batia, Lua Bati, Lua Bati, hey. Thank you. Yeah, I did that on purpose because I can see Mr. Andrew and Takayo falling asleep. So we have a quick question. As university students, we'd like to kindly ask, from your perspectives and opinion, how can the adoption of DNSSEC enhance security, cybersecurity, digital trust, and control over digital infrastructure for Pacific Island nations?
All right, thank you. DNSSEC is a global measurement of this security extension for DNS. And after I joined to this university, I know the importance, but we don't know how to can sign DNSSEC. So I regularly communicate with our neighbors, Auda, and Auda's technical team led by current CEO, Bruce, who at the time CEO, and he advised us how we can sign the DNSSEC, because we need to build a capacity building. And unfortunately, at this moment, we are not provide the training to our students, but we definitely need to make a training to this DNSSEC. And also, I did the marketing to some global company like ExxonMobil, Coca-Cola, but they refused to use the .pg because we didn't sign DNSSEC, which means it's breached their company security policies. So DNSSEC is not final answer, I believe. Maybe many other security measurements are happening in next. I can't say many technical things because I'm not this background, but always we need to catch up some latest movement, latest trend. As you know, internet starts from academic network, and many people contribute to the internet some good things. But now the time internet become infrastructure and some bad influence and some hackers. Maybe past few days we are discussing about cybersecurity, because if all people behave within internet, we don't need the example antivirus program. If no virus, we don't need. No virus, we don't need antivirus, but we need like this. So my point is, as a youth, you always opening your eyes and you can learn yourself. Don't wait until someone can teach you and catch up next level. Thank you.
Tevita, Lava.
That's okay. You wanna take it?
Thank you, your question, and this is a small gift for you. Thank you.
Yes, just hold on. There will be more into DNSSEC later on. There are a few other questions that will follow after, but thank you, Russell, for giving us the gifts. Let's hear more about the question about DNSSEC and what is it? Why is it important to top-level domain?
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. I think within ICANN, it was identified very earlier, so many years back, how a researcher identified that there was going to be, the DNS could have been exploited, and the compromises could happen. if we do not sign the DNS. So that's when DNSSEC was introduced, and as one of the best practices for ICANN, all the generic top-level domain registries have to be DNSSEC signed if they have to operate. And one of the things that we continue to do is to advocate for country code top-level domain registries globally to also sign their zone with DNSSEC. It's one of the security mechanisms that has to be applied on the DNS. Here in the region, we want to ensure that the rest of the ccTLDs that have not signed their zones to also sign, consider that. We cannot force it on them, but it's a best practice. So one of the things that we do is that, once the ccTLDs, like our colleagues here, they sign, to make it complete, we also require our telecom operators and ISPs or the other network operators to do the validation side. And this is why it's important for us to come in and do some training together with partners who train in this space to offer DNSSEC training in the region. And also for you, if you own a domain name, you can also sign or at a second level, like say for instance, for governments, they can also sign their domain name at the second level to make sure that their DNS is protected. I think that's what I could add at this time.
Just help me understand. In layman's term, it's just like having a door. If you don't have DNSSEC, it's like you don't have a lock on that door. Is that correct, or how we can?
Yeah, it's really authenticating who's coming at the door. Do they have the credentials? Do they have the DNSSEC keys to validate? And so these guys, if they see you, okay, our keys match, and then you can let you in.
Thank you. Edwin, would you like to add a little bit?
Just my own twist on understanding DNSSEC. As a student, most of you would probably go to Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media website. Here's the question. If this was Facebook, and that's a DNS request, as I mentioned earlier, when you first access the internet, the first thing you'll generate is a DNS request. The reason you sign your DNS request is because you need to be able to trust that whoever's serving you that service is a trusted person, right? So basically, when they sign that particular DNS query within the packet header, they basically signing in and saying, yes, I am DNSSEC for Google or for Facebook or for Instagram, and this is how you get to me. Because if it's not signed, someone along the pathway can actually, and just like this packet of coffee, how do you know the contents of the coffee is coffee? It can be emptied and Milo can be put inside. That's why DNSSEC is important.
Thank you. Yes, Naka Andrew.
Yes, I think as we looked at practical ways on how DNSSEC can help us is if you're doing like Edwin said, a transaction, and it can be diverted in the middle. The man in the middle can have the attack to divert to pose as the server you're intending to go to. And so the other thing that I think it has been on the discussions this week was the trust on the ccTLDs, especially if you're using .fj and .tk or .view, and if some of these ccTLDs have not signed their DNSSEC, then that raises a question also on trading online. So that is why it is important that we have our Pacific ccTLDs have a DNSSEC sign so that we can trade online safely. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that nice practical example why we need it in the Pacific. Russell, you would like to add a few more things?
Yeah. Currently in this room, we have our ccTLD manager from friend from Solomon Island, Watson, and Raj from Nauru with us. Please come front. Come front. We are team. We are team. Please come in front.
You can go up there, Andrew, Russell, and
yeah,
give him the mic.
No. Just,
the big
yeah,
side,
these,
the big
yeah.
side.
These are two gentlemen from other side of Pacific, and we are all wearing these Pacific uniforms. That's why I'm calling you. But I think maybe Raj, you must take part. Nauru is not signed DNSSEC yet. So please, maybe tomorrow session, you can consult with AUDA and also Internet New Zealand and join with our team. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Russell. For the sake of those that have no idea about top-level domain and DNS security, this looks like a new career in IT. If one of us who are sitting here would like to take up this as a work opportunity, or someone listening online would like to venture into becoming a security expert for top-level domain, what are some of the pathways of getting into this exciting career? Any of you gentlemen that can help us with this? You academics, Edwin, I think you will have more clarification.
From an academic perspective, one of the first things I would recommend is understand how ccTLDs operate. And that has to start from, number one, the various governance bodies that exist in place. That would be APNIC as our first point of contact. ICANN as the overriding body. And you've got to understand how that whole ecosystem works. I've been fortunate to have attended ICANN events, then I've understood it. That's why I was hoping that Save would take the first step, because it really starts from ICANN and understanding that whole ecosystem. The other thing that I would recommend for anyone that's thinking to go into that space is also learn how to use Linux, because a lot of the TLDs are open source based. Yeah, so Linux operating systems, you've got to learn how to do that. The DNSSEC component, if you want to learn how to implement that, there's a lot of white papers online, but at the same time, there's a lot of bodies that come around the Pacific to do DNSSEC training, and one of which is, PacNog and the PETA, and there's so many other bodies that actually come in. APNIC comes and does DNSSEC training. So that's how we learned as we went along. I'd also like to pitch to the young ones in the room that there's opportunities for fellowships for both APNIC and ICANN. ICANN has a next gen fellowship that you should really consider. So if you're still a student and you want to attend ICANN so that you can understand how this whole ecosystem works, please apply. I've been fortunate enough to receive news, and I was giving Save that news about it yesterday. One of my interns, who I helped fill out the application, just got his fellowship to ICANN under the next gen classification. So he wants to be a network engineer. He wants to go into security. So who knows, maybe at some point he'll be doing DNSSEC, and he hasn't even graduated yet. So it's a massive opportunity that all our students should explore. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Yeah, for additional, like this apricot is maybe March or April, I forget. Every year, APNIC having this apricot with this training. So many young youth, this APNIC Young Fellowship Program, you can apply. And also young ICANN Next Gen Program, right? Maybe below how many years old? I forget, maybe 20, 25 or? Yes. Yeah, youth program, many youth IGF program, and many youth activities. Yeah, here Pacific IGF, we have this DNSSEC training. Always this Terry from my APNIC provides, Terry-san, thank you. Terry-san and his team can provide us such training, both in person and online. So this is not rocket science. This is not nuclear power technologies. So I think you can learn by yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Russell.
Yeah, thank you for the two gentlemen on my right. They've both been recipients of ICANN fellowships as well. But I can say that at ICANN, anyone can participate in ICANN. So ICANN is the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, even though the two N's are for the numbers and the names. the topics can be broad. It's like internet governance, but it's a model of internet governance. So the events are open, the meetings is open. You can participate in a hybrid format, whether you participate coming to a physical ICANN meeting, or you can log in through Zoom and participate that way. And they've already introduced the fellowship programs that we offer, and also the Next Gen program. And we also have our online training, which you can do at your own time, called the ICANN Learn. It's like an online university where you go and learn about things like that for ICANN. But I say, like, from a Pacific standpoint on how you can like formulate a pathway for you as a youth, just try and get into any of the network operators like ISPs or telcos. Even if you become a legal person, or as I said, anyone can really participate in this space, as you heard today, this week, for Pacific Internet Governance and also with ICANN. So we are not, shutting anybody out or saying this is not your space. So you're welcome to participate.
Thank you. Thank you. Those answers to the questions and for the word of encouragement. Any questions from the participant? Yes, we have one question that side. This will be our last question for this session before we go to the end of our today's session.
Just a question to Mr. Rachel. I heard you mention about the total registry of BG. And you mentioned also about the DAX, if I'm correct. What's the total registration of the BG?
Registration cost. Cost or?
I mean the total, as you mentioned, the difference between the Gmail and the BG.
Okay. Thank you. Difference between Gmail. Gmail, example, you can choose any names without any proof of document, right? Like Russell Deka, Russell Harada, Deka PNG, Deka Goroka, whatever, any names is available, you can apply because are part of a Google service, free service. So nothing costs, just only connection cost. But these domains, like ABC company, or if you want to apply ABC, but already applied this ABC, because ABC common, this Australian broadcasting or even some other meaning, then you can't use. So this registry regulated, this name is available or unavailable. First in, first on board. Any favorite name, we protect it as a branding. Like if you want to apply toyota.com.ws, but not allowing because Toyota is a global brand, or even not only Toyota, but other names. So these domains are providing, like my friend Edwin mentioned, the trust. If you are using this proper domain, means someone check this integrity of these domain names.
Okay. We are speaking about the importance of the top level domain. Is there any possibility of like forcing people or businesses in PNC or even around the Pacific to have that domain name? Is there any possibility? But I think because it also contributes to the revenue, right?
Yeah.
Government revenue. Is there any possibility of working with the business registry or anything to make it more compulsory for all the businesses to have that name?
Okay, so currently we restricted this .com.pg is only PNG registered companies, not external international companies, but you need to register within this PNG company registry system, very restricted. But after maybe next year, we have considering to open this second level domain, which means that this second level next to PG. So like a Pacific.pg, or even next Pacific name is Tahiti 2027.pg is available. But we need to review the policy, like international parties can apply this domain. But as I said, I won't become this .pg become a junk space. So still we have to manage, check up some integrity and alloy. All right? Yeah, thank you. But anytime you have interest, you show the interest is very important. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Max, in that regards?
Just very quickly to your question, you can't force any business to register a domain. However, like I said, it comes down to trust. If you want your business to grow and you have a service that you're providing, then you can go and register it as a .pg, if that makes sense.
Yes. In the words of Bill Gates, if your business is not on the internet, that's the end. You have to be on the internet. Well, we are coming to the end of our program. I hope you all find the sessions that we have this afternoon very interesting and have given you new ideas of how we are able to make our presence more in the global digital space. And with that, we would like to also take this time to acknowledge two gentlemen that have worked very hard in the first 2 days, providing training for DNSSEC. I would like us to show appreciation to Mr. Terry and Dave. Thank you very much for helping us understand more about DNSSEC and how we are able to secure our top-level domain. With that, I would like to invite Madam Sarai to give a token of appreciation to our speakers before we go into the next session. Naivalu.
Oh, hello. And this is the PNG Pacific Culture. I received the gift and I have to give another gift. This is the one. Yeah. Coffee for you, Sarai-san. Yeah. And this company is the first PNG local coffee exporter, upright.com.pg, Congo Coffee. That's why I always support this company. Yeah. One for Sarai-san. And also one for Andrew-san. Please. Thank you. Thank you, Turu. Thank you. And of course, at the last, Shita Javed-san, please. You give me your ABBA, so now exchange. All right. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not typical Japanese, so I'll stop it and back to MC. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have come to the end. Just a few more moments, I mean, probably a few minutes before we can leave for the socials. We're going to do a few remarks, but first of all, we're going to give the opportunity to some feedback. So please bear with us. So the first one, we have had some fellows who we supported through the support of AUDA and InternetNZ. So I'd like one representative to just come and share a short feedback on what they have seen this week. I mean, what have they learned this week? Have they learned anything new? So please, while I think Rocha is the rep from the fellows. Just come and introduce yourself and then share your feedback.
Okay, thank you, Andrew, for the opportunity. I think the feedback is more like a speech, so I'll have a read through with what is prepared. First of all, on behalf of the fellows, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank the PacIGF for giving us this opportunity to be part of this PacIGF 2025. We've prepared some few points on the discussion through the past 2 days. The first one on assistive technology, building a digital Pacific for all. The session on assistive technology was a compelling reminder that inclusion must be at the heart of all digital initiative. It emphasized that for the digital development to be equitable, we must design systems that are accessible to people with disabilities, the elderly, and other marginalized communities. From screen readers to voice controllers interface, the technologies are not only assistive but empowering, enable participation in education, work, society. This session highlights the need for regional policy alignments and increase public-private partnership to scale the solution across the Pacific. The second session on the agriculture 4.0 and digital inclusion in farming. In this session on agriculture 4.0, we saw how innovation can transform one region's most vital sectors. Smart farming tools, precise agriculture, and IoT-based systems are helping farming improve productivity, adapt to climate change, and manage resources more efficiently. The discussion on leveraging private sectors innovation to enhance agricultural digital inclusion further underline the need for investment in training localized technology adoption. For Pacific Island countries, agriculture is not just a livelihood, it's a pillar of economic resilience. This digital shift could be a game changer for rural development. The cybersecurity for awareness to action, the Pacific increasing digitalization brings both opportunity and vulnerability. A suite of systems on cyber security paint a sobering picture of the risk while also spotlighting emerging solutions. The VFFA's implementation of CM system demonstrate how data-driven security architecture for Pacific institutions. Moreover, the Samoan security readiness revealed the importance of proactive national planning and cyber diplomacy. We also learned from the FFA journey towards the ISO 27001 certification, which set a new benchmark for security governance in the region. Such case studies offering replicable models that our Pacific Island countries can follow, especially when combined with broader regional strategies like leveraging the ISO 2701 for stronger information security. Regional security coordination capacity building. This session entitled From Awareness to Action, highlighting the present needs for coordinate security efforts across government and businesses in the Pacific. Limited technical capacity and fragmented policy environment remain barriers. However, there is a growing momentum to build institutional capabilities, create computer emergency response teams, and improving regional collaboration. ABNIC's role stood out as an essential, not just in providing internet infrastructure support, but in championing digital resilience and training. ABNIC's program and partnerships are equipping Pacific technical communities with the tools and knowledge to protect the network and users. Digital infrastructure and connectivity, laying the foundation. Reliable internet connectivity is foundational to all digital ambitions. Sessions on regional submarine connectivity, update and strategic entry of Starlink in Samoa provide a fascinating insight into the evolving connectivity landscape. Starlink satellite, Starlink satellite was assessed through borders competitive force model showing how it can disrupt market, drive competition, and increase service access in the remote areas. Meanwhile, submarine cable project remains vital for long-term capacity and latency improvement. The Pacific must wait the trade-off between disruptive technology and sustainable sovereign infrastructure development. The session on strengthening digital readiness for future. The session is on regional intervention for digital readiness and resilience outline actionable priorities for development donors and government. This includes strengthening digital literacy at all levels, investment in cyber security infrastructure, supporting inclusive digital policy, ensuring liability and affordability connectivity. Finally, the presentations on Australian approach to online safety resonate strongly with the Pacific realities. With the rise of cyberbullying in misinformation, digital exploitation, online safety must become a policy and education priority across all age groups and communities. As a PacIGF fellow, we will leave this forum energized and informed. The sessions in the inclusive technology track have reinforced that the Pacific is not a passive recipient of technology, but an active and creative participant in shaping its destiny, digital destiny. The forum greatest value lay in its stakeholders dialogue, bridging government, technical communities, civil society, and private sectors actors to co-create resilience and inclusive digital investment. Our region face unique challenges, geographical, infrastructure, and financial, but we are also both unique strengths. Close communities, cultural resilience, and growing technical talent. Through collaboration, multi-stakeholderism, and sustainable investment, the Pacific can build a digital ecosystem that is not only secure, connect, but just and inclusive. Vinaka Vakalevu, Baftai, Malo, thank you too much to the organizers, speakers, and my fellow participants. Let us take these lessons from reflections to action. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. I think that confirms that we have just converted 6 more to the IGF community. Thank you so much. Our next remarks, I'm a bit conscious of the time. As our youth fellow, do you have a representative? Thank you.
Hello, Falava, Bula, and Namaste. As a first-time youth delegate, I am honored in joining from the Pacific region alongside 4 other passionate young individuals. We entered this forum with theoretical foundations from university studies in cybersecurity, computer network, software engineering, logarithms, and we have maths and physics. Our academic journey has been rooted in case studies and supervised practical exercises. This Pacific IGF, however, provided an immersive environment where experts and professionals from across the Pacific Island shared real-world experiences, bridging the gap between theory and practicals. This experience has been truly eye-opening and enriching. However, Pacific IGF brought that theory vividly in life. Throughout the forums, leading ICT professionals and regional experts presented real-world case studies and supervised practical demonstrations. Sessions on internet governance, digital inclusion, cybersecurity best practices, and emerging technologies showed us how ISO standards are implemented in everyday operations across Pacific Island nations. Witnessing this application gave context to the abstract concepts we discuss in lectures and labs. Pacific IGF small group discussion and roundtable discussions were particularly enlightening. In universities, group works often follows a fixed case study. Here, we co-created solutions to life challenges, such as ensuring affordable connectivity in remote islands. Informal hallway conversations with industry practitioners deepened our appreciation for the culture and regulatory shaping ICT projects in our region. Meeting professionals allowed us to see diverse career paths in internet governance. Their insights on balancing technical issues with community engagement inspired us to think beyond purely technical roles and opportunities for youth engagement initiatives. These were some of our few takeaways attending this forum. Understanding how ISO and cybersecurity frameworks are tailored for low-resourced environments. Integrating technical, social, policy dimension when designing ICT solutions. And we as youth voice matters, realizing that our fresh perspective can influence regional internet government agendas, words upon actions. And lifelong networking with established connections will support future collaborative research and professional growth. To conclude, attending this PacIGF 2025 was a transformative complement to our academic journey. It broke the university bubble by exposing us to the dynamic realities of ICT work in the Pacific. We return with not only richer technical insights, but also renewed motivation to contribute our voices. As a youth cybersecurity student to ongoing internet governance dialogues in our religion. Te lava Vinaka Bakalevu, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. At least we know that bringing the students and having the first youth IGF makes a lot of sense and meaningful to our fellows. The next feedback we didn't tell you, but we'd like to hear from a local, from the local community representative. So if you are from Samoa, and you have attended these sessions, we'd like to hear from you. I mean, not apart from Jobens. And so if you are local from anywhere in Samoa that you attended and feel you would like to give a short feedback or any organization, please, this is the opportunity. Come. Yep. We have another youth. So she has her laptop and I think she has another speech. So be ready, be prepared. The drinks can wait, huh? So thank you. Please introduce yourself and
Talafalava, Bulavinaka, Kiorana, and warm Pacific greetings to you all. My name is Pleipu Haney. I'm only 20 years old. And I just want to thank everyone and this platform for having us today. I stand here today not just as a youth representative, not just the University of Samoa representative, but as a voice for a generation deeply connected to the ocean, to our cultures, and increasingly to the digital future of the Pacific. Over the past few days, we have had the privilege of learning from organizations. Oh, there's so many. So I'm just going to mention two. Yes, the PICISOC and APNIC, whose work has been transformational for me and so many young youth people in this room. So from APNIC, we learned that the internet is more than just a network of computers. It's a system of trust, of numbers, of governance, and people working tirelessly behind the screens to keep it secure and open. We also gain insight into the network security, IP addressing, and the importance of regional technical capacity, which are topics that I never thought a youth from a small island could fully grasp, but we did. From PICISOC, we learned the power of community-driven advocacy. I saw how grassroots engagement, cultural knowledge, and open dialogue can shape internet policies that reflect our realities, not just important models. They showed us that our voices matter, even in global internet governance conversations like today. As a Pacific youth, we live between traditional and transformational settings. So we inherit rich cultures, but we also face rising tides and issues and challenges every day, both environmental and digital. We are the generation navigating between both of the threats of cybercrime and also many issues on the social platforms. We are not just users of the internet, but we are ready to be builders, protectors, and stewards of the Pacific digital future. So as a student, we need more investment in digital literacy, more support from youth involvement in IGF discussions, and greater inclusion of Pacific perspectives in global forums. I challenge our governments, if they could hear us, our partners and our elders to work with us, not ahead of us, as we co-design a secure, inclusive, and a sovereign internet for the Blue Pacific continent. I may be young, which I am, but my generation is the future, and we are the now. With what I've learned this week, and in this year's Pacific Internet Governance Forum, I know we're ready. So let's work together to ensure the Pacific isn't just connected, but empowered, protected, and heard. Vinaka vakalevu, whawhetai lava. Thank you, everyone. All right, and as Swaran said, as beautiful Swaran said, Pacific Island nations, especially Samoa, are teeny tiny. So we got to break the silence in order to shape the future of the internet in our region. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Thomas. It's good to have our young people expressing themselves. Thank you. I think we have one more. Yeah. So if I hear that there's some in the business community who have joined here. So if you are from the business community, maybe if you want to give a feedback, I think it's Mose. Mose is from the business community. So he has been here, he's been asking questions. So please share with us how you feel about this week.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to give some feedback on this week's forum. First of all, thank you to all the organizers. Thank you, CETA, NUS, all our delegations from overseas. I think the biggest takeaway from myself, from the private sector, is that there's quite a few things that we need to do for Samoa. And as we found out from the other Pacific Islands as well, there's a lot of potential in terms of emerging technologies. We have the capacity, we have the skills, but we do not have the legislations, the policies, and an act that would really drive technology for our small Pacific islands. So I think from looking from the private sector, we need more forums like this being brought to the Pacific, where we get to have our young people, our business people, our academics, and everyone, as we see this is a collaborative effort to make sure that, you know, we keep on moving forward with technology, and especially in the areas of cybersecurity and being safe online. I also want to thank you. It's been a wonderful 2 days. We always enjoy the free food as a side event, as I may say, but on behalf of, I guess, the business community, thank you everyone for your presentations. We wish you well on your travels back to your homes. God bless, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mose. We have our communities from Australia and New Zealand who are here as well. I don't want to miss them. So I'm giving the opportunity to the Australians, either from AUDA or from the government, and also we have a team from New Zealand. And I think we have some youth from New Zealand as well who are here with us during the week. So I'm giving this opportunity to these two groups. So Maureen, you're putting up your hand. You. I know everyone would like feedback, but I'm just reminding you there's an evaluation on the app. Maureen.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to say that I'd actually sort of like, you know, was writing something down. This meeting has been particularly important to me. In 2006 was my very first visit to Samoa. It was also my very first attendance of a PICISOC event. And Andrew was there, and we'd come at the invitation of PICISOC to the, I think it was the Prime Minister's office at the time. Anyway, so I came along, and I was talking to a gentleman at dinner time, and I was telling him about what I was doing in Cook Islands, just arrived there, and he said, "You know, Maureen, you should join this PICISOC because you're doing exactly what they're doing in the Pacific, and it's what the Internet Society does." And so I thought, oh, well, actually, yeah, that's true. They're doing a lot of really good stuff, and I'd really like to join them. I thought it'd be really quite, you know, an exciting opportunity, and it always has been. And of course, what was particularly interesting was the guy that I was speaking to was Vint Cerf, one of the fathers of the internet. I didn't realize how important he was at that particular point in time, because I didn't understand what internet governance was at that particular point in time either. So unlike a lot of you, at your very first IGF meeting, it just goes to show that 20 years later, after a lot of adventures with the Pacific Islands chapter of the Internet Society and ICANN and .Asia, a whole lot of other things, the opportunities are there for the people from the Pacific to aspire to being on the board of the Internet Society or on the board of ICANN or on the board of anywhere. So I just wanted to tell you that you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Yes. we had a lot of stories for PICISOC, Internet Society, but I just wanted to get maybe 2 more feedbacks and then we can round up. So Bree or Jordan, one of you can give a short feedback before. Or Dave, or Terry, use that mic.
No, yes, no, it is now. Hi. Thanks, Andrew. Another great example of being put on the spot. It's kind of a personal hope, which I'm sure the boss will agree with, and the other Australians here, that it's kind of a lovely thing to be able to be in the room for the dialogue and discussion that happens at a forum like this, and to be able to chip in a bit of money and time to support it happening. Because the internet, like, I think I like the whakatauaki that Vivian used this morning. We're thinking of it as a mat that we're weaving together. We don't need holes in the mat, right? And that means that every community all around the world needs to be part of the mix. So to be able to be part of this dialogue and hearing it in person, not just reading a report later or telling yourself you're going to go and watch a video, but then you never do, and so you don't really get the sense of the vibe, is really awesome. And we're super proud to be able to provide a bit of support and to be in the room. So thank you really for the chance to be here, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. Do we have someone from InternetNZ? Thank you, Rose.
Unfortunately, Vivian went home slightly earlier, so she's on the return to paradise beach, just saying. This is my first Pacific IGF, having missed it in Wellington, so I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed meeting a lot of people, and we covered a range of topics, so really enjoyed some of the more technical sessions, and just to really get a feel for what's actually happening on the ground in the Pacific. So yeah, enjoyed it and looking forward to it next year.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we will have the final remarks. Oh, Save.
Just
Yeah,
to
please.
add to the conversation, I'm really encouraged to see many new faces and new youths attending. So I think we need to continue that and encourage their participation, because after all, they will be our future leaders, and we need to pass the baton at some stage of our lives. Thanks.
Thank you, Save. Yes, I think we need to hear the government of Samoa.
Sorry, I do not represent the government of Samoa. I'm actually a representative of the Samoa Water Authority, which would be considered a critical infrastructure in this day and age. I've jotted down a few points I wanted to share in terms of feedback. This is my first IGF, and it's actually the first type of forum that I've attended in these type of dialogues and discussions. So I just wanted to thank the organizers and the participants. It was encouraging to see the Pacific community come together to talk about internet governance. Although I find internet a bit dated, considering how far we've come along in terms of technology. As someone that works in critical infrastructure, I'd just like to gently challenge everybody. If we are going to be serious about building sovereign, safe, and trusted digital systems, that we must go beyond the talking. I'm more of an operational type of guy, so I try to avoid the talking a lot, but I see that there is value in dialogue, because in effect, this will actually trickle down to how we have to deliver systems that we need to deliver. So we've heard powerful conversations about Starlink, the submarine cables, as well as the plans on hybrid networks. and we've also discussed some regulatory frameworks. But we've seen how thin the technical and legal capabilities truly are across the Pacific. I do recognize that Fiji has really, and PNG has sort of built that, which is great. It's an inspiration for Samoa, especially the regulatory bodies, to take a look at. And my challenge is to us as Pacific people is to move the conversation from capacity building and to invest more in our technical regulators, our own regional frameworks, to adapt it to how we work, and also it's community rooted in terms of its modeling, especially when it comes to data sovereignty. I think my hope from this Pacific IGF is that should the authority pay for me to go to the next one, wherever it is, but well, we need to agree in some way to measure as well as build together, so that the next time that we do come together, that we can report on actual progress, as well as how far we've closed the gap that we always talk about, these digital gaps here and there. And like all things, everything starts with good intentions, but it's how do we finish it? That's the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have to wrap up this. So Jobens, please. Jobens is president of the CETA, our partner here in the local host. So he will say a few words, then followed by Sarai and myself, and then that's it. We will be done. Thank you, Jobens.
Talofa, warm greetings again. As we wrap up Pacific Internet Governance Forum 2025, I want to extend my heart thanks and congratulations to you all. On behalf of the Samoa IT Association and the entire host team, this forum has been more than just a series of discussions, as you've heard. It's been a powerful reminder the strength and collaboration that defines a Pacific region. Over the few days, we've brought together 162 on-site participants, connected with 26 remote attendees, featured 14 incredible speakers, delivered 22 engagement sessions, and not including the networking you're getting at lunchtime. I think that's one of the most important sessions is when we're talking with each other. And this all comes under the theme of digital inclusion and online safety. These numbers are important, but what matters the most is the spirit, the insight, and the connection that emerged throughout this week. Together, we've tackled critical issues from cybersecurity to digital rights, inclusiveness, infrastructure, and regional resilience. To our regional, global partners, ICOC, PICISOC, APNIC, Internet New Zealand, ccTLD, the ICANN, GFCE Pacific Hub, and NetSafe. Thank you for championing Pacific voices and helping making this forum possible. And to our local sponsors, we deeply appreciate your support and commitment to this digital growth of Samoa and the Pacific. The National University of Samoa for our incredible venue. Can we give a round of applause for our NUS team? They not only supply the venue, but all the equipment that you see and the help that's running around doing the tech support. Vodafone Samoa, Digicel Samoa, the CSL, Samoa Submarine Cable Company, Taula Beverages, the Bank of South Pacific, Sky Eye, Urban Tech, Greenology Samoa and Green Energy, National Bank of Samoa, Samoa Commercial Bank, WebSafe Samoa, Top Tech, and Urban Tech. Patai Tele Lava for investing in this important space for dialogue, growth, and innovation. To the many behind-the-scene heroes, our volunteers, our coordinators, our moderators, and our students, and especially our tech teams, as I mentioned before. And not forgetting our CETA executive team. Thank you, team. I wouldn't have been standing in front here if it wasn't for my amazing executive committee. You helped us create this very special week. And finally, to all the participants, whether this is your first IGF, like Savenaca has mentioned, or your fifth, you each contributed to the success of this event. Let's carry this conversation forward, implement what we've learned, and continue building a safe, inclusive, and resilient Pacific digital future. On behalf of CETA, thank you once again for being part of this journey. And like what our MC said in his closing statement yesterday, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, we go together. Soifua Maya Manuia. Safe travels, everyone, and we hope to welcome you again to Samoa very soon. Paftai.
Thank you, Joe Pence, and thank you, CETA. So I'm standing before you guys here, our distinguished guests and our speakers, our sponsors, and everyone here. On behalf of the PICISOC board, I would like to convey appreciation for the CETA for taking up this big role of hosting the PacIGF here in Samoa. What about another round of applause for CETA? So as we draw to this close, impactful PacIGF 2025, with its timely focus on digital inclusion and online safety, we are reminded of the impactful and the profound response we share in the shaping of the future of the internet in our beloved Pacific Islands. So from the PICISOC board, again, as CETA President mentioned, without the support from our sponsors, we weren't here. So from the PICISOC board, again, can we give a round of applause for our APNIC trainers? Elder, InternetNZ, Australia government, ICANN, ICANN, Digital Identity, APNIC Foundation, and everyone's here. Well, we have another social event tonight, and so Hini will be our host. These are ISOC social events. We can talk more at that social event. So from us, safe travels back home when you go, and until we meet again. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarai. I'm going to be short, but before I say the final remarks, I would like to ask Crystal to be here. So we are taking a new direction with Pacific IGF. We are going to start a synthesis document, and Crystal will start that document, and then it will be shared across. I'll let us explain that.
Yeah, thank you. So we know there's been a lot of great discussions that have come out of the forum, and there's also been an important point made about having some place where we can capture that. So we know that the APR IGF does produce a synthesis document after the forum. So it's important to note that it's not currently in the chapter's policy to do that, but it doesn't stop us from at least having a summary of discussions to put together after the forum. And like our colleague from Samoa mentioned, so when we have subsequent forums, we can at least follow up on the recommendations that came out and how have we progressed since then. So again, going back to what Swaran was saying, it doesn't become a talk fest, but rather, an action fest. So at least every year we have updates to report on key things and how we're doing with closing the gaps in the Pacific. So we'll be I'll put together a draft summary document, but we'll provide that opportunity to our fellows to take the lead on that, to assist us with putting together a synthesis document. But we'll make sure that the chapter's policy is updated to have a synthesis document produced in the next forum next year going forward. So just thought we make that announcement for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Okay. So thank you, everyone, for the wealth of discussions we have had this week and the last 2 days especially. I believe you have been inspired by the many of the presentation and discussions we have had. All who took time to register and decided to spend the last 2 days with us here, we thank you for the commitment. Our speakers, thank you for your response to the call for papers and for traveling to Samoa to present it. It is an honor for the Pacific IGF Committee. Let's give a big round of applause to our speakers. Last but not least, that Sarai has already mentioned, our partners and our sponsors. Without your contribution, we could not have achieved what we have achieved in the last few days and the week of Pacific IGF. So first of all, I'd like to thank CETA again for your commitment to partner with PICISOC to run and organize the logistics, the local logistics that we have seen. So to the technical team here, to the cleaning and the beautification of these rooms, I thank you so much. We are so humbled. Give them a big round of applause. The National University for giving us this facility to host the Pacific IGF this year. Thank you very much for that commitment. Also, I want to thank the Samoan government for making sure that the Prime Minister was here to open this session. Thank you very much. To our workshop facilitators, and thank you for the commitments we have from APNIC, the Australian government, ISOC, NetSafe, which is happening tomorrow, the Pacific ccTLD, the multi-stakeholder Internet Governance Forum that happened on Monday and Tuesday. Thank you for running those workshops. The commitments were made for this to happen this week so that we can have a full week of deliberations in the Pacific IGF week. Our sponsors, I'd like to thank Auda, Bruce and your team. Thank you, and Jordan. Thank you so much. Give them a big hand of applause. Rose and Vivian from the InternetNZ, thank you very much for the sponsorship. We also had some commitments, some funding from the European Commission. They are not here, but I'd like to thank the European Commission on behalf of Pacific IGF as well. The Asia Pacific Top Level Domain Association, we had their presentation yesterday. I also would like to thank them for their support, continued support to Pacific IGF. With that, I would like to say this, and thank you all who participated. So I want to say that please keep the Pacific IGF fire burning, continue to burn wherever you are. So with that, I must say, Vaftai Lava, thank you, Thomas, and Vinara Vakalevu. And may you travel safe to your own countries in the coming days. And I believe that you will join us again next year. I'm not going to tell you where, but it's happening. It's happening in one of the islands. We are almost 80% sure where it is, but listen out, and we will announce in the near future where it's going to be. So we look forward to the engagement, and we look forward to seeing you in that island next year. Thank you. PICISOC to come and say the closing prayer.
Everyone looks surprised. Well, as I've always mentioned, it's never going to be a Pacific event if there's no surprise. Surprise. Yes. I'm very happy to be part of this event, to be part of the coordinating committee. I've become a rugby commentator, presenter, moderator, now a reverend, bestowed yesterday by CITES president. And I also have a role to play in this the organizing committee. That's the reason why I'm leaving. I'll be the last one leaving this island, this beautiful island, because I need to clear up all the bills. If you don't see any pictures that I upload of Fiji, that means I'm locked up in one of these police stations. But speaking of money, I would just like to offer some words of encouragement. In the Bible, there are a few stories about people who handles money, and they are not always been said to be very good people. They are branded by societies as very corrupt, self-serving, and morally compromised. Yet these very individuals were called by Jesus, not because they were perfect, but because they were willing to be transformed. In Luke 19, 8-9, and I would like to read this passage for us. In the New International Version, it says, but Zacchaeus is one of a very interesting characters. So if you would like to learn about Zacchaeus, please go and look up Luke, the book of Luke, Gospel of Luke. I'll be reading from chapter 19, verse 8 and 9. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possession to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. So Jesus was sitting with him and he said, today, salvation has come to this house. Zacchaeus' transformation reminds us that integrity can be restored, that trust can be rebuilt, and that God honors repentance with a purpose. His commitment to restitution shows us what stewardship looks like, not just in word, as our colleague have reiterated, but in action. Likewise, Matthew left behind his lucrative post to become a disciple and evangelist. His life testified to the fact that those once entrusted with finances of empire could become faithful stewards of God's kingdom. In today's world, where data is power and digital system governs life, we, like the tax collectors of old, are being called to do something greater, to use technology with justice, not exploitation, to manage digital resources with transparency and accountability, to build trust, protect the vulnerable, and serve not the few, but the many. Just as Jesus saw beyond the outward reputation of tax collectors, may we also see the redemptive power of the purpose-driven governance, whether we are officials, policymakers, developers, or educators. We are each stewards of a digital future. Let us ensure that our system, policies, and platforms reflect righteousness, inclusion, and truth, that they uplift the weak, protect the innocent, and build a Pacific where digital integrity is not an option, but a standard. As Matthew and Zacchaeus once did, may we to rise from our old ways and work towards and walk forward, not just as users of digital tools, but as servants of justice and peace in a digital world. Please, I would like to ask us if we can bow our heads to the word of prayer. Creator of heaven and earth, loving and eternal God, source of wisdom, peace, and purpose. As we close this gathering of the Pacific Internet Governance Forum 2025, we thank you for guiding us through these days of reflections, dialogue, and shared vision. Lord, we give thanks for the spirit of cooperation that has flowed through every Talanoa, and for the bonds formed among Pacific people seeking a secure and inclusive digital future. Today, we especially lift up in prayer and blessings the people and the government of Samoa. May you continue to bless this beautiful land and its leaders with wisdom, compassion, and courage. We pray for the life of the Honorable Prime Minister of Samoa, and we ask that you strengthen her leadership as she stewards her nation through both traditional and technological ties. We also thank you for the generous hospitality and partnership of the National University of Samoa. And we pray for continued blessings upon its executives, faculty, and students. May it remain a beacon of learning, innovation, and cultural pride for Samoa and the region. As we return to our homes and continue our work, Lord, may the knowledge we have shared here grow into action, and may our digital governance be guided by fairness, dignity, and care for every Pacific voice. Lord, we ask that your angels guide and protect us as we travel back to our own countries. May you bless our leaders, protect our youth, and sustain our shared mission for a just, safe, and connected Pacific. In your holy name we pray, amen.
Okay, that's it. Russell wanted a final group photo, so maybe that side or this side. So let's move quickly before we go down to the Pale Samoa. Here, they said here.